Security footage from a supermarket in England shows a black shape floating down an aisle before making a complete mess of the store. In a social security office, a brand new motion camera captures a strange black shape drifting around a room, and cameras caught a figure in period clothing slamming a door shut at Hampton Court Palace in England, leading to one of the most infamous and eerie ghost videos on the internet. These are mysterious figures captured on security cameras that no one can explain. Well, this is a pretty busy supermarket. Not sure what it's like during opening hours, but in the middle of the night, when no one's supposed to be in the store knocking things off shelves, there seems to be something in the store knocking things off shelves. And even before that happens, there's some odd stuff going on. There seems to be some sort of invisible force messing with the computer and POS. And then we see this very ominous black shape floating down an aisle. We see all kinds of stuff in this video. Fruits rolling along the floor, a mop bucket shift out of position, and this door to the walk-in freezer starts to violently shake. So this footage was captured at a store in Whaley Bridge, England. Weird stuff is known to happen there a lot, and it's freaked out the staff so much that when Halloween night rolled around, they decided to shut the place down early. They locked up around 9:30, an hour and a half earlier than normal, after a bunch of spooky things started going down. Basically, everything you've just seen had all been going on that day. Rumor is the place has been haunted for over 100 years. This next piece of security footage was captured at a social security building in 2020. It was uploaded to YouTube by Joshua Bragg, who's responsible for checking the motion cameras. But here we can clearly see this mysterious dark shape floating around a room. He insisted that whatever this thing is, it's not a bug, and that he's always had weird vibes about the building. Haunted kind of vibes. And in terms of the cameras, well, they were brand new, high grade, and the lenses were sealed. So the idea of a bug or something being trapped in one of them was, again, not a valid explanation according to the uploader, who also said he went and checked the camera for anything like that anyway. So I don't know, what was captured on this motion detector camera? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments. This is a pretty famous image. I bet a lot of you have seen this still if you've ever typed in real ghost photos to Google Images. But do you know the story behind it? Well, back in the winter of 2003, something strange happened 3 days in a row at Hampton Court Palace in southwest London. Security kept getting called to deal with the same fire door that just wouldn't stay shut. Well, one day, the CCTV cameras caught the doors suddenly swinging wide open, like someone had slammed them, but there was nobody around to explain it. On day 2, it happened again, but this time the cameras picked up something else. A creepy figure in old-fashioned clothes flings the doors open before quickly slamming them shut again. Well then, day 3 rolls around. The doors fly open again, but the mystery figure doesn't make another appearance. Now, a visitor actually wrote in the palace's guest book that she thought she saw some sort of ghostly figure in the exact area on the same day that the cameras caught it. This grainy footage of the strange figure made headlines all over the world. News stations and papers from everywhere from Australia and India, well, they started talking about this thing, and of course the footage began circulating online, becoming one of the first creepy ghost videos in the early days of the internet. This video was posted to YouTube by House Junkie Podcast, who wrote in the description, "I got an alert on my phone from my Canary security webcam stating motion detected in living room. When I hit play, this is what I saw." So here we see these two very distinct semi-translucent shapes floating across the screen. Your first thought may be, well, it's just smoke, but I don't know. It doesn't really move like smoke. The shapes don't linger at all. They just float past and disappear. Also, I gotta say, they have pretty classical ghost-type shapes to them. So I have no context for this next clip. I just think it's cursed. So what the hell is this? One of those Fresno Nightcrawler things with the 2 legs and no head? Or is it just a pair of pants walking around at night on their own? Again, I don't know where this is filmed. I don't know who the original uploader is. It's just one of those clips you come across online that may have well just sprung up out of thin air, as far as you can tell. That's the creep factor, in my opinion, though. But if anyone knows where this clip comes from, let us know down in the comments. What you're looking at here is footage from a pretty well-documented UFO sighting at O'Hare Airport in 2006. The case gets talked about a fair amount because it happened in a place full of trained aviation workers, not just random people looking at the sky. It was November 7th, 2006, around 4:15 to 4:30 p.m. at Chicago's O'Hare International Airport. A group of United Airlines employees working near gate C-17 said they saw something strange sitting in the sky above the terminal. One ramp worker first noticed it while pushing back an aircraft. He pointed it out, and other workers nearby started looking up too. And before long, more airport staff were watching it. Reports say there were around a dozen employees who saw it, including pilots, mechanics, and ramp crew. They described it as a dark metallic disc-shaped object hanging under the cloud layer. It wasn't moving, it was just hovering there quietly, barely made a sound. After a few minutes, people said it suddenly shot straight upward at high speed and disappeared into the clouds. A couple of witnesses also mentioned seeing a clean circular opening form in the cloud layer right after it left, like something punched right through it. Air traffic control didn't report seeing anything on radar though. The FAA later said they wouldn't investigate, saying it could have been a weather effect, like a hole punch cloud. That explanation was incredibly flimsy. People clearly saw an object, and these were airport employees who deal with aircraft every day and know what's normal and what isn't. What you're looking at here seems to be some standard, rather unremarkable airport security footage, but it captures a woman notorious for sneaking onto planes. Her name is Svetlana Dali. She's a Russian national with US residency. The first big incident happened in 2024 at JFK Airport. She somehow got onto a Delta flight headed to Paris without going through proper passenger checks. Reports say she blended in with regular travelers, walked through the airport normally, and just made it all the way to the gate without getting flagged. Once on the plane, she didn't take a seat like everyone else. She stayed in one of the bathrooms for most of the flight and only got discovered after the plane landed in France. She was arrested after that and was convicted in 2025 for stowaway charges, but it didn't end there. She later removed her ankle monitor and tried to leave again, which led to another arrest attempt near the Canada border. Then in 2026, she managed to sneak onto another international flight out of the New York, New Jersey area heading toward Europe. She was detained after landing in Milan. It's actually pretty impressive. I'm not even gonna lie, I think this woman's a hero. If I could sneak onto planes and get away with it, I absolutely would, and don't even pretend you wouldn't. Officials have called her a known stowaway, so how does this keep happening? Once is already hard enough, with all the security on planes now, but when someone's already flagged and under supervision, you'd expect airport security to catch them pretty quickly, but in this case, she still managed to get through multiple stages of airport screening more than once. What you're looking at here is surveillance footage of someone walking across the runway at an airport seconds before being hit by a plane. And this is footage captured inside said plane the moment the accident happened. This took place at Denver International Airport just a couple weeks ago. Frontier Airlines flight was taking off late at night. A pedestrian had somehow gotten past the airport's perimeter fence and made it onto the runway area. The person wasn't an employee. He had no authorization to be anywhere near the airfield, obviously. They crossed onto an active runway right as the aircraft was in its takeoff roll. The jet hit them at high speed. The pilots aborted the takeoff almost instantly after realizing they'd hit something. The aircraft came to a stop on the runway. There was a brief engine fire and smoke started filling parts of the plane, forcing an emergency evacuation. Passengers ended up sliding out on emergency chutes onto the tarmac while firefighters rushed in to put out the fire around the engine area. Even though people on board survived, there were injuries during the evacuation. The whole situation turned into a full emergency response in seconds. Investigators tried to figure out how the person managed to breach airport security in the first place. Reports say they managed to climb the 8-foot perimeter fence and make it onto the runway in minutes. A couple years ago, early in the morning in Daytona Beach, Florida, Gina Helsel stepped outside to let her dog out, something she does all the time to scare off stray cats that hang around her porch. But this time, it wasn't a cat waiting out there, it was a bear. Watch this. Well, that's a new fear unlocked. God, that is terrifying, eh? The camera makes the bear look all demonic too, with the light reflecting off its eyes. Eesh. According to Gina, the bear was getting in the neighbor's trash, and I caught it in the act, she said. It's always interesting watching videos like this and seeing how people act in horror movies is sometimes more accurate than we think. In her panic, she struggles to get back in the house and close the door. I did fumble with it. It was open too. It wasn't shut all the way because I never shut it all the way when I take him out, Gina said. Thankfully, the bear didn't follow them. According to Mike Orlando from Florida Fish and Wildlife, the bear is mostly focused on the dog. It basically lunges, does a bit of a bluff charge, then when she and the dog retreat, the bear runs away. She wasn't prepared to have a bear sitting there, and the bear probably wasn't prepared to have her show up with a dog, he said. Gina said she's always watching for gators, snakes, and coyotes, but she never thought she'd see a bear outside her door. This next video raises a whole laundry list of questions. It was posted by Shannon Wood on YouTube, who wrote in the description, apparently this guy was put up to knocking on our door. It's clear from our other security cameras that he was never touching the door, as he was fake knocking while watching the car in the driveway. Watch as he puts on a show. And yeah, this is a really odd situation here. So this dude walks up onto the porch, fakes knocking on the door, and notice how he continually looks off to the side. Someone's in a car parked in the driveway, seemingly putting him up to this. Take a look. He also keeps fidgeting with his hands. He looks noticeably uncomfortable with what he's doing, and he then asks, does Matt live here? But notice how exaggerated his hand gestures are and how quietly he says this. It's pretty obvious he's trying to make it look like he's talking to the homeowner when he really isn't. And then he apologizes and leaves, having never actually spoken to anyone.
Okay. Sorry about that. Sorry.
And as he walks down the front yard, he's calling out to the drivers saying, nobody named Matt lives here, and they still have no idea what was going on here. Was this a dare? Was there something more sinister going on? If that's the case, this dude's ruse ended up working, and he protected the homeowners from whatever that person or persons in the car were gonna do. Speaking of close calls, check this out. This woman is carrying her toddler up the steps to her home. She's also on the phone. She's distracted, to say the least, not aware that there's some random guy behind her who's been following her for who knows how long. He doesn't stop when she closes the gate. He brazenly opens it and starts walking up the stairs behind her. She finally notices what's going on, but seems to have a bit of trouble finding her keys. There's that horror movie thing coming true again. Luckily though, her neighbor was outside and there's no audio, but he seems to tell the guy to go away. Thankfully he does. Scary to think what would have happened had he not been outside at the time. It's also scary that this happened just in broad daylight. You're never safe. Always make sure you're being as alert as possible when out in public, especially if your child is with you and you're on a phone call. Any sign you're unaware and distracted, nutcases will take advantage of that. Make sure you don't have your volume up too high for this next one. This clip was posted by Reddit user Nigo Caps, who said, this is home security camera footage from my friend's relatives in the Philippines. Can I get a possible explanation for this? His grandma had recently died. She lived in that house. So let's take a look at this. 10. So yeah, I told you, that comes out of nowhere. I bet you were expecting to see an orb or like a ghostly shape moving across the screen, not for the washing machine to suddenly, like, I don't know, spaz out. What would you call that? Pretty bizarre. What do you think happened here? Was it just on the fritz? Or is there something paranormal going on in this house? So far, we've had a bear, we've had a mysterious shirtless man, a stalker, and a possessed washing machine. I think it's time for a small, unidentified, alien-like creature, don't you? What exactly do you think this thing is? This video comes from JessDaily406 on TikTok, who said it was captured on her Ring cam at 3 a.m. Something darts across the yard and runs down the street beyond the hedges. Whatever it is, it's short. You'd think it'd be an animal, but what makes this so bizarre is it doesn't look to move on all fours. It looks like it's running on two legs. One commenter said it's kind of shaped like those little alien dudes from Men in Black. Totally agree there. It's got that short but spindly kind of look. But I don't know, what do you all think of this one? Share your thoughts down below. This clip was recorded by a security manager who was on duty at the Wingate Hotel in Illinois on September 14th of 2003. That night, guests had started calling the front desk to complain about loud screaming coming from room 209. According to the security guy, this wasn't the first time that room had caused problems. Over the years, there had been several reports of weird noises coming from it, so as the security guy, John, approaches the door, screams can clearly be heard. Take a listen. So he stands outside the door, totally dumbfounded, because as his boss tells him over the walkie, there's nobody checked into that room. Figuring there could be something pretty serious going on in the room, John is instructed to wait for the police, but he takes a look inside the room anyway. He cautiously enters, and what does he find? Well, the room was empty and completely silent, except for the fact that all the furniture had been turned upside down, the carpet was ripped up, and the shower was running. But there was something else that actually picked up on camera. Just after John had entered the room, this happens. So this is a weird one. This footage comes out of a park in Costa Rica. We see some sort of creepy looking four-legged creature crawling around while two dogs bark at it. It's not exactly clear what this thing is, and people in the comments have been tossing around all kinds of theories. Some said it looks like a shapeshifter. Another said, my first guess, a troll. My second guess has to be El Chupacabras. Someone else said it looked like something that crawled out of hell. It's hard to describe this thing. It almost moves like a spider though, which is not good. What do you think it is? Mysterious creature or a hoax? This CCTV footage was captured on January 5th of 2017 in India. So a couple dudes are snoozing, they're off in dreamland, but one of them is about to have the worst nightmare of his life, because it doesn't go away when he wakes up, at least not right away. So suddenly this dude's legs start raising into the air. I do not think this is a case of sleepwalking, especially when it only gets worse. This happens. So not only does this man start getting dragged off the bed, he's getting lifted into the air. Like, this man's lower back is off the bed completely. Of course, at this point, he wakes up in a complete panic, thrashing around to get whatever the hell this thing is away from him. And suddenly, he's released and just drops back down to the bed, trying to make some sort of sense about what just happened. This is a really good video, hoax or not. This would not have been easy to fake if that even is the case. This next one is creepy, not so much for the CCTV footage itself, but for all the stories surrounding this building. So in 2023, a security camera at the Library Restaurant in Portsmouth, New Hampshire, picked up something weird. What looks like a translucent shape zipping past the lens right before the cops showed up to investigate. This place is relatively well known for its ghost stories, especially in the basement, but this was the first time the motion detectors inside the building had ever been triggered like this. The restaurant posted the clip online and said, last night for the very first time our motion detector alarms inside the building were set off by this camera motion caught on video in the dead of night outside the window. In the footage you can see a white blur shoot past the camera and then vanish almost instantly. Again, on its own, I wouldn't really give this one much second thought, but considering the place is known to be kinda haunted, definitely makes this more interesting. One of the co-owners said she's seen things fall off shelves before, and people who've eaten here have mentioned a figure known as the Lady in White, who some have said they've seen wandering the hallways. The building itself has been around for a long time. It started out as a home back in 1785, then it was a hotel by 1833, before it burned down in 1884, and then it was rebuilt. Perfect setting for some ghosts though. And finally we have the poltergeist. This eerie security footage was recorded at Deer Park, a 200-year-old school in Cork, Ireland. Here we see a number of strange things happening. A door at the end of the hallway slowly opens by itself before slamming shut with force. Moments later, a filing cabinet or possibly a locker starts shaking back and forth on its own. One of the locker doors swings open and all his kids' poor homework flies all over the place out of nowhere, and a nearby wet floor sign suddenly tips over. It's just an absolute mess. This thing, whatever it was is not in a good mood. In 2014, a 28-year-old German guy named Lars Matank went on vacation with his friends to a beach resort in Bulgaria. What started as a normal trip ended up turning into one of the most infamous missing persons cases in modern history. During the trip, Lars got into a fight with some other tourists over football and ended up with a ruptured eardrum. A doctor told him he shouldn't fly back right away because of the air pressure, so his friends flew home while Lars stayed behind, checking into a cheap hotel near the airport. This is where things really started getting weird, because he called his mom in the middle of the night, acting totally paranoid. He told her people were trying to kill him, asked her to cancel his credit cards, and said he was hiding from 4 men who were following him. The next morning, July 8th, Lars went to the airport doctor to get cleared for a flight home. While the doctor was examining him, a construction worker walked into the room, and for no clear reason, Lars just snapped. He jumped up, left his wallet, passport, and all his luggage on the table, and just sprinted out of the room. The airport security cameras captured Lars sprinting out of the terminal doors in total terror, looking over his shoulder as if he was being chased. He ran completely out of the airport, across the parking lot, climbed over a barbed wire fence, and just disappeared into a massive sunflower field. He was never seen again. To this day, nobody knows if he just had a psychotic break from his medication or if he was actually being followed. This next video from 2017 keeps resurfacing online from an airport in Thailand. It may look like a group of passengers walking along an airport jet bridge, but there's something strange about it. Notice how there's no plane attached. That's why this clip often gets labeled online as ghosts or lost souls stuck in a loop. Some commenters have said the figures could be spirits from a fatal plane crash at the airport in 2007, where a 1-2-GO Airlines flight crashed and killed around 90 people. But the more grounded explanation is that it's an optical illusion, that what people are seeing as floating or ghost-like passengers are actually reflections caused by the shiny glass walls of the Aero Bridge. But what are your thoughts on this one? Back in April 2012, a passenger on a flight over Seoul, South Korea, captured a strange oval white object in the sky, and the video quickly went viral. People were split on what it was. Some thought it could be something extraterrestrial. Others said it was just something ordinary, like a plastic bag or parachute. The thing isn't on screen for long, but it does appear to be saucer-shaped. At first, some people said it might just be a water droplet on the window, which kind of fits the blurry look, but then it moves across the screen and starts rising. It's definitely not a water droplet. Others still argued it could be a plastic bag or parachute, but again, the movement doesn't really match what you'd expect from either of those. I think back in 2012, the general public was a lot more skeptical of this sort of thing and would make what they thought were grounded explanations, but I mean, nowadays, it just feels like reaching. With all the UAP sightings and reports being released now, an unidentified flying object really isn't that far-fetched. So this dashcam footage comes from a truck driver who was just having a normal, quiet shift until it absolutely wasn't. He ended up watching a plane crash right in front of him. This was back in November at Muhammad Ali International Airport in Louisville, Kentucky. It was a UPS cargo plane, and it was already in trouble before it even left the ground. One of the engines caught fire and tore away from the wing during takeoff. The plane rolled sideways, losing altitude, and in just a few seconds, it came down in an industrial area right near some cargo buildings, parking lots. And when it hit, it erupted into a massive fireball. The truck driver just freezes for a second, jaws on the floor, but he snaps out of it and jumps out of the cab, trying to put distance between himself and the fire, which was already spreading to nearby trucks and buildings. The plane was carrying a heavy fuel load, which is why the explosion was as violent as it was. There was a ton of destruction on the ground too, with multiple fires, buildings were hit, vehicles were destroyed, and sadly, nobody on that plane survived. All 3 crew members were killed. People on the ground lost their lives too, and the total death toll climbed to at least a dozen. This happened during a live TV interview at Copenhagen Airport for the Danish Sports Center. A reporter is talking to a dude with passengers ambling through the background, chatting as they pass by with luggage, but then something weird pops up in the shot. There's a blonde woman standing in the background. Now, that's not the weird part. See, luggage rolls past her, a luggage cart, and then she seems to just vanish. One moment she's clearly there, and the next she's gone, still in the exact same spot. no cuts in the video.
First up on our list today, we have the mystery of the Siberian dancing lady. Video footage of the woman first began circulating online in 2019, showing an elderly woman dancing in the streets of Siberia, dressed in traditional Siberian garb. The user who posted it said that they were confused about her behavior, but eventually a stream of comments flooded in, labeling the woman as the Siberian dancing lady and saying that if you were to look the woman in the eyes without first receiving permission, she would chase you down with a large blade in an attempt to end your life. There is a Siberian legend that tells the story of a woman who fell in love with a man from a different village. However, unfortunately, her family disapproved of the union and she was left heartbroken. It is said that when she died, her spirit could be seen roaming along the countryside, dancing and singing mournfully in the night. Those who were unlucky enough to gaze upon her shadow would be met with misfortune and death. In 2023, more video footage of a strange woman dancing in the Siberian streets was posted online. In one, the woman notices that there is someone filming her and begins charging towards them holding a large blade. Many people also claim to have seen the woman and have theorized that she is either mentally unwell or possessed by the devil. Police have also begun to take these sightings very seriously, and incidents have even been reported on the local news stations, who have warned citizens to seek shelter after dark to avoid a run-in with the unidentified woman. Next, we have footage taken from a passenger aboard an American Airlines flight headed to Orlando from Fort Worth. The woman in the video, later identified as Tiffany Gomez, a former Microsoft employee, can be seen having what can only be described as a breakdown. She shouted at other passengers, claiming that a man near the back of the plane was not real and that the plane would not be making it to its final destination. She was removed from the aircraft and was later captured on police body camera footage inside the terminal of the airport, claiming that the man had told her he had an explosive device. She pleaded with the desk agent and police, begging them not to let the plane leave, saying that once it became airborne, it would blow up. Tiffany later posted an apology video online saying that she was sorry for causing a scene as well as for using profanity aboard the aircraft, but provided no explanation for her actions or the claims that she made in the video. While the plane was okay, many people who watched the apology video have claimed that the woman apologizing and the woman on the plane were two entirely different people, saying that they look nothing alike. Next on our list today, we have CCTV footage that shows the last known location of American-born Maura Murray, who disappeared on February 9th of 2004. 20 years later, in early February of this year, Maura's sister started a podcast in hopes of regaining traction for her sister's case and possibly putting an end to the mystery of Murray's disappearance. On the day Maura went missing, she packed her car and took to the road without telling anyone where she was headed. She was caught on video using an ATM machine around 3:40 p.m. and then continued on her way. Somewhere along the drive, the 21-year-old was involved in a single car crash and police were called to the scene by a bystander. By the time police arrived, however, just minutes later, Murray was gone. It is unclear whether or not she wandered off into the woods or grabbed a ride from a passing vehicle, but either way, she was never seen again. No one knew where she had been going or why she had decided to pack up her entire dorm room and leave nursing school to head north. While some people believe she left because of a ticket she had gotten for a previous crash or a warning she had received for using a stolen credit card number to purchase fast food, her family heavily disputes these claims, as she never received a ticket for the accident and the charges of fraud were dismissed on good behavior. Her mother and father maintain that she was in the wrong place at the wrong time and that whoever picked her up that day on the side of the road is ultimately responsible for her death. Next up, we have the strange last moments of Lars Matank, captured on CCTV at an airport in Bulgaria. You see, in the summer of 2014, Lars and 3 friends had traveled to Bulgaria and stayed at a popular beachside resort. During their time away, they relaxed, swam, exercised, and often went to clubs. Everything seemed normal until it didn't. On the last night of the men's vacation, they had gone to a local bar to watch a soccer game, and while at the bar, Lars got into a fight with a group of fans for the opposing team. The situation escalated and then eventually de-escalated, but after the game, Lars and his friends group left the bar. His friends stopped for food on the way home. Lars, claiming he wasn't hungry, waited outside. When his friends emerged from the restaurant, Lars was nowhere to be found, and it wasn't until the next morning that he reappeared. Beaten and bruised, he claimed he had been jumped by a group of guys hired by the angry soccer fans from the bar. Due to a ruptured eardrum, he was unable to make the flight home with his friends that day, and he stayed in Belgium. By the evening, however, his demeanor had almost completely changed. He was calling his mother paranoid, convinced the assailants were planning to come back and finish the job. When he was finally cleared to fly home, he made his way to the airport, but before he could get on the plane, he became spooked by a construction worker. He could be heard muttering, "I don't want to die here," before booking it out of the airport without any of his personal items. And that was the last anyone would ever see of Lars. His behavior and disappearance remain a mystery to this day, but I want to know what you guys think. Was he really being hunted down by some kind of hitman, or might the initial blow to the head have caused Lars to slip into some kind of paranoid manic episode?
The hooded man you're looking at in this series of CCTV clips is the person of interest in the death of a man named Scott Radigan. On January 17th, 2020, police were called to an apartment building in Arlington, Virginia, for a reported cardiac arrest. Scott Radigan's sister had gone into his bedroom after not hearing from him and found him with severe trauma to his upper body. Medics pronounced the 24-year-old dead at the scene. The surveillance footage is the only real lead, but it is limited. The apartment building had been going through renovations and the lobby cameras weren't working. So the only footage police got was from security cameras on the street, showing a person of interest leaving the area around the time it happened. The individual is described as a white male, roughly 5'6" to 5'8", dressed in all black backpack. He also has a distinct pigeon-toed gait with his feet turned a bit inward. It's possible he was walking like that intentionally though, to throw investigators off. Apparently a lot of people close to Scott believe this was not a random act, but a professional hit. But as of recording this video, the case is still unsolved. On February 1st, 2012, 18-year-old Samantha Koenig was working the closing shift at Common Grounds, a small coffee shack in Anchorage, Alaska. The CCTV inside the kiosk shows a man, later identified as Israel Keys, walking up to the window. In the footage, the interaction looks normal for a few minutes. Samantha is seen moving around the small space, getting a drink ready, and talking back and forth with the customer at the window, but then the man pulls out a weapon before jumping through the small service window to get inside. Once he's in the kiosk, he forces Samantha to turn off the lights. Camera quality wasn't great to begin with, but now it's even harder to make out. What is clear though is there's a struggle taking place. You can see him tie her hands and lead her out in the parking lot. Keys later confessed he had been planning an abduction for a while and chose that spot because it was isolated and he knew she'd be alone. After he took her keys, took her life, and then went on a cruise. When he got back from his vacation, he opened Samantha's eyes and took a photo of her holding a recent newspaper to make it look like she was still alive. He used that photo to demand $30,000 in ransom from her family. He was finally caught in Texas after he started using her debit card at different ATMs. Eventually, he told police about several other people he unalived across the country before taking his own life in his cell. These are the last images of Rebecca Corium, captured on a CCTV camera on a cruise ship. Rebecca Corium was a 24-year-old crew member working on the Disney Wonder cruise ship when she vanished on March 22nd, 2011, while the vessel was off the coast of Mexico. Now, the actual video hasn't been released to the public, apparently. I mean, if you look for it, you'll mostly just find frames and news segments describing what's in the footage. The images we do have come from a camera in a crew lounge around 5:45 a.m. In these stills, Rebecca is seen using an internal ship phone. She's wearing oversized men's clothing, a detail her family found suspicious because the clothes were not hers. From the descriptions of the full video, she looks visibly distressed, pacing and rubbing her forehead during the call. A male crew member eventually walks by and asks if she's okay, and she reportedly mouthed, "Yeah, fine," before hanging up and walking away. That was the last time anyone saw her. When she didn't show up for her shift a few hours later, the ship was searched, but she was nowhere to be found. Disney's investigators figured she was swept overboard by a rogue wave on the crew pool deck, but her family doesn't buy that, pointing out that the railings in that area are high and the water was calm that morning. There are also reports of her credit card being used months after she disappeared. There are tons of theories as to what happened here, but unfortunately the case has yet to be solved. Jennifer Kesey lived in Orlando when she disappeared in January 2006. She'd just gotten back from a trip and had been at work the day before, but she never showed up the next morning. Her apartment showed no signs of a struggle. It looked like she'd gotten ready for work and just walked out the door. 2 days later, her car was found abandoned at an apartment complex about a mile away. The complex had a surveillance camera that caught a person of interest parking her car and walking away at noon. But the footage is incredibly frustrating. The camera was set to take photos at intervals, and in every single frame the person's face is hidden by the metal bars of a fence. And, because of the way the person was walking and the timing of the camera, the fence posts perfectly block their head in every single shot. Police couldn't tell if the person was a man or a woman or what race they were. They could only guess the person was between 5'3" and 5'5" based on the height of the car and the fence. The case has been cold for 20 years. This footage comes from April 26, 2013 near Rafael Hernandez Airport in Aguadilla, Puerto Rico. It's recorded by an infrared camera on board a U.S. Customs and Border Protection aircraft during a routine flight over the area. You see this fast-moving object, and as it moves over the water, it looks like it suddenly splits into two separate objects. One of them appears to continue across the shoreline while the other seems to head toward the ocean. Later, the U.S. Department of Defense's All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office reviewed the case, and they figured the split wasn't actually a split at all. It was probably two separate objects the whole time, moving close together in a straight line. From the angle of the camera and the way infrared picks it up, they briefly looked like one thing breaking into two, but that still doesn't explain what these things were. This security camera footage was captured from multiple angles. Residential doorbell cameras caught it as well. On January 31st, 2025, a small jet was captured falling out of the sky in Philadelphia. The footage is pretty terrifying. The plane drops out of the clouds, slams directly into the concrete sidewalk, and instantly erupts into a massive fireball. The plane was an air ambulance flying through heavy fog and rain. On board were 6 people, a captain, a co-pilot, a doctor, a paramedic, and a young pediatric patient being flown home to Mexico with her mother. The jet took off from Northeast Philadelphia Airport, heading out for a quick refueling stop in Missouri, but just 40 seconds into the flight, something went very wrong. The plane completely vanished from radar, diving toward the ground at 11,000 feet per minute. Air traffic control reported that the pilots were talking to the tower right up until the final seconds, and they never once sent out a distress call or indicated anything was broken. The jet came down right next to a local mall. 4 homes were destroyed, 17 other buildings were damaged. Everyone on board the plane died instantly. 2 people died on the ground, and 23 others were injured. On March 22nd, 2016, 3 men took a taxi from an apartment to the Brussels airport. The driver noticed that their suitcases left a kind of chemical smell in the cab. He didn't think much of it at the time. At 7:58 that morning though, 2 blasts hit the departure hall 9 seconds apart, both in the check-in area. The men had been carrying large suitcases packed with explosives. CCTV footage came out showing all 3 men pushing luggage carts through the terminal. People noticed something kind of odd. 2 of them were wearing a single black glove on their left hand, which investigators believe were covering the detonators. A 3rd device had also been brought in, but never went off. One of the men, Mohammed Abrini, walked out of the airport before the blasts and left his behind. About an hour later, a 4th attacker set off a device in the middle carriage of a metro train. 32 people died in total, 16 at the airport, 16 in the metro, and over 300 more were injured. It was the deadliest attack on Belgium since World War II. Meanwhile, the taxi driver heard about the attacks on the radio on his way home, so he went straight to a police station, and within hours, police were at the flat that he picked the men up from. Inside, they found a suitcase device that hadn't made it into the cab because there just wasn't enough room, along with materials to make explosives. 2 of the airport attackers were arrested on April 8th, 16 days after the attacks. The FBI's facial recognition software helped confirm Abrini as the man seen walking out of the airport in the footage. All 5 attackers had also been involved in planning the November 2015 Paris attacks. On January 24th, 2011, at around 4:30 in the afternoon, at Domodedovo International Airport in Moscow, a blast went off inside the arrivals area. It hit right in the middle of the crowd. 37 people were killed, and more than 170 were injured. The explosion basically tore straight through the busiest part of the terminal at the worst possible time. CCTV footage was later played on the news showing emergency crews pulling people out as fast as they could. Later on, investigators figured out the attacker was a 20-year-old man from the North Caucasus region. He also died in the explosion. But after that, it turned into a wider investigation. Police started going through people connected to him. His younger brother was accused of helping put the device together, along with a few others from the same area. And by the end of 2011, several people had been arrested. Then in 2013, the case finally made it to court. 3 of the men involved were handed life sentences. Another was given 10 years for helping with the preparation. This one happened at a Mexico City International Airport back in 2016. A security guard named Francisco Hernandez experienced something that he wouldn't have believed himself if he hadn't captured it on camera. He was finishing up the overnight shift when he heard loud banging sounds coming from inside of one of the parked planes. It was around 3 in the morning, right near the end of his shift, so he went on board to check it out, because that was pretty strange. The cabin was dark except for the beam from his flashlight as he moved down the aisle. Then he noticed something near the back of the plane. It was a dark figure slowly leaning out from around the corner at the end of the aisle and then pulling back in. At first, Francisco wasn't sure what he was seeing. He took a few steps forward, thinking it might have just been a trick of the light, but when he noticed the thing move again, he knew that he was not imagining things. Someone or something was in that plane. Utterly terrified, he bolted out of there. This happened in an airport in China. A passenger went through security and started loading his bags onto the conveyor belt like usual. Staff were guiding him through the usual screening process, but somewhere along the line, he clearly misunderstood an instruction, and instead of walking through the body scanner, he climbed right onto the conveyor belt, meant for luggage. Still holding his belongings, he lay down and was carried forward all the way into the X-ray machine. Security staff rushed over trying to stop him, but by then he was already halfway inside the scanner. They must have thought the guy just had way too much to drink, but it turned out he was an inexperienced traveler. It was just a gross misunderstanding, and he will unfortunately be haunted by for the rest of his life. Or maybe he's super well adjusted and was able to just laugh it off. I would not be. Back in 2020, a paranormal investigation group called Retford Ghost Hunters got permission to explore Gamston Airport in Nottinghamshire, England, which used to be a Royal Air Force base during World War II. They actually weren't expecting much. The airport managers had told them there hadn't really been many reports of paranormal activity there before, but while they were inside one of the old wartime hangars, they captured something strange on camera. Under the wing of an aircraft sitting in the hangar, there appeared to be a dark figure standing there. Looking back at the image, it looked like a man wearing some kind of cap and uniform. And what made the whole thing more unsettling was what they found out afterward. On August 4th, 1944, a Wellington bomber took off from the base and crashed near the Derbyshire and Nottinghamshire border. The plane nosedived and exploded shortly after takeoff, killing all 5 Canadian crew members on board. Finally, we have a story from a now deleted Reddit user, which goes as follows. I used to work nights doing camera surveillance at an airport. Mostly boring stuff. Lost luggage, the occasional drunk guy wandering into the wrong area, but one night around 1 a.m., me and another guy were watching cameras near one of the closed terminals. The whole section was empty, except for a cleaning crew on the other side of the building. It was this hallway connecting 2 gates that passengers normally wouldn't use unless the airport was packed. One camera showed a woman standing near the end of it. She was standing there near the wall with her head slightly down. The problem was nobody could figure out how she got there. We checked the earlier footage and never saw her walk into the hallway. 1 minute it was empty, and then she was just there the next camera refresh. The camera's updated every couple seconds, so stuff got missed sometimes, but it still felt strange because there weren't many ways into that area. So we radioed one of the floor guys to go check. While he was walking there, we kept watching the camera. She didn't move the entire time. The floor guy turns the corner into the hallway, and she's gone. We checked the bathrooms, the stairwell, the locked maintenance door nearby. Nobody there. We rewound the footage to see if we missed her leaving, and right before the floor guy entered the hallway, the camera freezes for maybe 1 second. When it comes back, she's not there anymore. After that, nobody liked that hallway much. Even during the day, it had this eerie feeling about it. One morning at Wellington Indoor Market in Telford, England, workers showed up and immediately knew something was off. Boxes were scattered everywhere, across the floor and down the stairs. The first thought was that someone must have broken in overnight, so they pulled up the security footage expecting to see a person. What they got instead was a bit harder to explain. They watched as boxes suddenly tipped over and tumbled down the stairs. If you really focus, there is also a dark, shadowy shape moving up the staircase right before it happens. It's faint, but it's there, and what made it harder to brush off is that the market has been around since 1244 and already has a reputation for odd stuff. Staff have said they'll sometimes see strange shadows when working alone, and that one time, 2 people heard coughing in another part of the building only to find it completely empty. Doors slamming and hand dryers turning on by themselves have also been reported. Did you see that ghostly shape move across the field in the background? Nobody noticed it until they played the footage back later. This clip was posted to Reddit by a user named Elizabeth Greengirl88, titled, "Captured a spirit walking behind my husband on a security camera." After people started asking questions, Elizabeth jumped in and explained a few things. The footage came from a security camera that sends alerts to their phone whenever it detects movement. At the time, they were out in their farmland, not near a road or other houses. She said neither of them smokes, and there wasn't a fire going on, so smoke doesn't really make sense, and honestly, it doesn't really look like smoke anyway. They don't have pets, and no one else was around when this was recorded, at least not that they know. She also mentioned that an older man used to live on the land before they moved in, and he'd passed away prior to them buying the property. In 2023, a restaurant in Portsmouth, New Hampshire ended up with a story it didn't expect after its alarm system went off late at night. The place was the Library Restaurant, which sits inside the old Rockingham Hotel, a building that's had a reputation for ghost stories for a long time. After the alarms were triggered, the restaurant shared security footage on Facebook showing what they believed caused it. A few seconds into the video, a white, misty-looking shape floats across the frame. Not long after that, police are seen in responding to the alarm. What made it strange was that the motion detectors that went off were inside the building, even though the movement was only seen outside. In their post, the restaurant explained, "Our building, the Rockingham, is well known for its ghosts, and notably the ones in the library basement. Last night, for the very first time, our motion detector alarms inside the building were set off by this camera motion, caught on video in the dead of night outside the window. The motion detectors inside cannot see what the camera outside sees. It is not lights from the car, because you can see how others are picked up, and there is no horizontal wind blowing, so what can this be? Make of it what you will, but this has never happened before." I don't know where this last clip originally comes from. Seems to be CCTV footage from a cafeteria or maybe a party room, but it is pretty odd. So the room is totally dark and empty, but then the door behind the bar lights up. A figure is standing by it. At first I thought it was just someone opening the door and walking in, but it doesn't quite look like that. I mean, I slowed the clip down and watched it again, and it's almost instantaneous. The door doesn't appear to swing open. Suddenly there's just this figure standing there surrounded by light. It could definitely just be a case of bad camera quality, making it tough to figure out exactly what's going on, but the video continues. The figure moves its way behind the bar, and you notice it's not totally solid. It's this vague kind of white shape. And then the lights flick on, and the figure just isn't there anymore. And someone else walks into the room. They walk behind the bar and don't miss a step. I mean, if someone had crouched down behind there, the person would have noticed them. They certainly wouldn't just walk by like that. I don't know, it's a strange video. Remember the Myrtles Plantation? I've talked about it on the channel a number of times. It's said to be one of the most haunted places in the United States. Well, now we have some footage. This security camera happened to pick up something incredibly startling during a tour, right in the middle of the day. So the group is standing in the foyer. They're slowly making their way deeper into the home, very slowly, as this is not a group of spring chickens. And then suddenly, this happens. So a series of super loud bangs on the wall are heard, the mirror shakes violently, and then a sculpture falls down. Now, could this have been staged? There's always the possibility, but I hope that's not the case, because if it was, that was pretty messed up. You really shouldn't be playing pranks on old folks like this, especially with loud bangs. So this eerie piece of footage comes from a government office in Mexico City. According to the staff, especially the security guards, strange things were happening there all the time. They said they were constantly getting spooked, but the most disturbing part was that several of them claimed to see some kind of monk-like figure that would appear and harassed them. People would also report hearing cries and screams in the early hours of the morning. Then, one night, a security camera finally captured this, which looked exactly like the creepy figure that had been terrifying them night after night. Imagine you're alone at home in the middle of the night, cleaning up around the house, when suddenly something cuts through the silence. It's a whisper, and not only is it a whisper, but it's your name. This is what happened to Reddit user IggyTalls_15, who said, "I heard someone very distinctly whisper Mike from behind me. I thought one of my kids had walked downstairs, but when I saw there was no one, I bolted. It was just me and the dogs/cat around 12 a.m. This is also an old home from the 1850s, and a crew member who died in the Halifax explosion lived here in the early 1900s. Take a listen to this and a watch. Security footage from Wellington Indoor Market in Telford, England caught something that left workers a bit rattled the next day. When traders showed up one morning, they found a bunch of boxes scattered across the floor and stairs. At first they thought someone had broken in, of course, but when they checked the CCTV, what they saw was something else entirely. A dark, shadowy figure walking up the stairs and then knocking over the boxes. Now, it's not very easy to make out the figure walking up the stairs, but if you look closely enough, you can see some sort of shadowy shape appear. The boxes falling are clearly visible though. Market manager Kay Bokai said, "We came into the market in the morning and the boxes were all over the place. On the floor, over the stairs. We thought we'd had an intruder, so we obviously went straight to the CCTV. We couldn't believe what we saw. All the hairs stood up on the back of my neck. There was nobody there when the boxes fell off. We watched it again and we could see the shadow walking up the stairs, then chucking the boxes over." End quote. Now, this market isn't new to strange activity. It's been around since 1244. According to Kay, sometimes there are strange things that go on when people are alone. Some people say they have seen a shadow go past them. She also mentioned an incident where, quote, "two people were alone in the market. They were talking when they heard coughing coming from the other side of the building. When they looked around, it was totally empty." Other weird moments include doors slamming and hand dryers turning on by themselves. Who is this staring at the security camera after hours? So a security guard monitoring a CCTV system got an alert that someone was on the property after hours, well past closing time when no one should have been there, other than him, of course. When he checked the footage, what the camera caught was unsettling, to say the least. There's this small, ghostly figure with glowing eyes standing in the distance. Some have said it looks like a little boy, standing there, staring right at the camera. The clip has since been linked to the legend of the Pocong, a ghost from Indonesian and Malaysian folklore. According to the belief, a Pocong is the spirit of a dead person who's still wrapped in their burial shroud. In some versions of the legend, the soul remains trapped if the ties around the shroud aren't removed after 40 days. And the spirit is forced to wander, often appearing as this pale figure with bound limbs and a haunting stare. See if you spot anything strange in this clip. Here's the backstory. This is security footage from a cafe in a mall in Japan. The camera is sitting right on the front desk facing the elevator near the entrance. When the elevator doors open, a man walks out, but he is not alone. Right behind him, you can see a tall woman wearing a red dress. First glance, it doesn't seem too strange, but take a closer look. Doesn't she look unnaturally tall? She'd have to bend way down just to walk out of the elevator frame. On top of that, she isn't really standing there. To a lot of people, it looks like she's floating above the floor. She also stays completely still without moving a muscle. The longer you watch this clip, the more unnerving it gets, especially because people in the area pointed out that the woman in the video, even as blurry as the camera is, looked a lot like a woman who'd taken her own life in a nearby park shortly before this video was captured. A Reddit user named Mac1611 posted this footage online, writing that his father had passed away in the house earlier that year. The day before was his father's birthday. He kept getting motion notifications on his security app all night, so he decided to record the live feed in real time. In the clip, you could see the camera lens panning around on its own, tracking something moving across the room, but there's clearly nothing there, or at least nothing solid. You could see a see-through cloudy shape floating back and forth around the armchair. One commenter asked if the father used to sit in that chair, and Mac replied that his dad sat in the exact spot every single night. This video was posted to Reddit a couple years ago by user Cam03. It's gotta be one of the strangest pieces of security camera footage I've ever seen. I can't really comprehend what the hell I just watched. I mean, an orb zips down from out of nowhere and knocks a guy out? The Redditor wrote, "So this happened a few days ago in my hometown in Colombia. A really fast and strange object knocked a man down to the floor. He had 24 stitches at the hospital." Finally, we're finishing off with the Elisa Lam case. I really try not to talk about this video often because, it's just been talked about to death, but with that said, I do think it belongs on a list like this. It's such a bizarre, eerie case, and it did genuinely stump investigators for a long time. Even today, there are still plenty of questions surrounding this case. In early 2013, a young Canadian student named Elisa was staying at the Cecil Hotel in downtown Los Angeles. When she suddenly vanished without a trace, police began searching the area. A short time later, a brief clip of elevator security camera footage was released, and it instantly became one of the creepiest pieces of security footage ever captured. Elisa walks into the elevator, starts pressing a bunch of buttons at once. She peers out of the hallway intermittently, stepping back into the corners, hiding as if someone's trailing her down the corridor. Then she steps out into the hallway and begins moving her arms and hands like she's gesturing to someone just outside the camera's view. 2 weeks after the footage was released, hotel guests started complaining about poor water pressure and this foul taste coming from the room taps. The water was also running black. Maintenance workers climbed up to inspect the 4 massive water supply tanks sitting on the building's roof, where they discovered the body of Elisa. July 18th, 2025, a man named Andres Cesares Jaldin, 26, attempted to kidnap and carried her through Fair Oaks Shopping Center in Virginia. The whole thing was caught on mall security cameras. The girl had wandered away from an indoor play area. Her dad was watching her and noticed that she was suddenly gone, so he called his wife, who was shopping at the JCPenney nearby. Jaldin had just walked over, picked her up, and then carried her through the mall, through public areas, the upper level store walkways. Nobody around them reacted because they didn't realize that anything was wrong. They just thought it was a dad with his daughter. Thankfully, the mom got there and found Jaldin on the second floor, still holding her daughter. She confronted him, and thankfully, he just handed her right back, said he was trying to help her find her parents. Yeah. Well, thankfully the girl wasn't hurt. He was charged with abduction of a minor and grand larceny and is currently being held without bond. His background is pretty dark. In 2024, he was charged with battery, malicious wounding, and property damage against his own mom, dad, and brother. While he was out on bail for that, he's accused of going after his family again. A psychiatric evaluation done as part of those cases resulted in a schizophrenia diagnosis. All those family-related charges were eventually dropped. So that was pretty nuts. This happened just last month on April 27th inside Bonnie Doon Mall in Edmonton, Canada. Just after 3:20 in the afternoon, 5 masked men showed up outside the mall in a dark SUV and pulled up near an entrance close to a jewelry store. One of them stayed in the vehicle while the other 4 got out and went straight into the store. The moment they entered, they told staff to get down. One customer inside was thrown to the ground while the group started smashing display cases, grabbing as much jewelry as they could. It all happened in less than a minute. Once they had what they wanted, they ran back out of the store and got into the SUV waiting outside. The vehicle took off immediately from the mall. Police later confirmed a woman working in the store was treated for injuries caused by broken glass, but there were no life-threatening injuries and no firearms were involved. So far, no arrests have been made either, though. Security footage from a mall in Quincy, Illinois shows something that's been unsettling people ever since it surfaced online. The video you're looking at comes from a staff member filming a replay of the CCTV monitor with their phone. So the quality isn't great, but we clearly see something pretty strange. Take a look at this. A strange dark shape appears in a hallway. It shows up near a cleaning cart by a set of elevators, pops out for a moment, then immediately moves back into the elevator doorway. Fast. This thing does not look natural. There's also a light that comes on when those elevator doors open. Notice how no light comes on when this shadowy figure appears, though. Those elevator doors, they weren't opening. This thing seems to just appear out of nowhere. Staff at the mall had already been dealing with odd situations around the area, including missing items from cleaning supplies. Now, what exactly was captured on the security camera? Do you think it's actually some sort of otherworldly entity, or is it just a camera issue? Share your thoughts down below. This series of clips comes from security cameras at the old Strathcona Antique Mall in Edmonton, Alberta. Staff will tell you strange stuff happens there. Pictures flying off walls, Exorcist VHSs falling on people's heads. People have seen unexplained shadows. They'd heard voices at night. The place is supposedly haunted. And, I mean, if you're a believer in the paranormal, that's not too surprising. Antique malls like this are full of, well, antiques, potentially haunted ones. Stories of spirits attaching themselves to things like old mirrors and paintings, especially dolls, have been told for hundreds of years. So if you want to take the extra step in your Halloween decorations this year, I mean, hit up your local antique store. Bring home whatever makes you uneasy. You know, live a little. On March 19th, 2025, there was a robbery at Micmac Mall in Dartmouth, Nova Scotia, and it was caught on camera. The shopper was walking past Sunglass Hut when they noticed a man inside stuffing merchandise into a large bag. Before he could get away, a mall security guard stepped in and tried to stop him right at the store entrance. The security guard grabbed him almost immediately, and from there, it turned into a struggle and then a chase, moving through the mall corridor. The robber kept trying to break free while the guard held on, following him as he moved. As they ran down the hallway toward the Foot Locker area, people nearby stopped and watched. A few shoppers pulled out their phones and started recording, and I love this part. Early on in the video, you hear the guard go, "Not on my watch." And I just love a good action movie line thrown into any real world scenario, but anyway, no information about an arrest or charges. Just about a week ago, hundreds of people showed up to Roosevelt Field Mall in East Garden City, Long Island for the release of a limited edition Swatch watch, and things went totally off the rails. The watch is called the Royal Pop, a collaboration between Swatch and luxury brand Audemars Piguet. I have no idea what I just said. I know nothing about watches, really. I don't care about watches. I don't get it. I mean, that's my watch. Anyway, some people love them. I'm not shaming you. Dude, live your life. The watch runs just over $400, less than I expected for something that is this hype. And I always read about these watches going for like thousands of bucks. Anyway, it was only available at select locations. The release had already been causing chaos at stores around the world. And Long Island was obviously no different. The crowd got so out of hand that Nassau County Police were called in. At some point, people started pushing past officers and ignoring orders to move back, and that's when things really went sideways. Basically turned into a mob. Officers were getting swarmed by what was kind of a stampede. One officer got knocked around by the crowd before pulling out pepper spray, and he used it. When it was over, 4 people were arrested. Roosevelt Field location ended up being one of 19 Swatch stores that closed that day. The company said they shut them down over public safety concerns. Yeah, no kidding. This security camera footage from Mexico begins with a strange glowing object floating over some bushes before drifting into someone's yard. It doesn't move like a balloon or an animal. Instead, it slowly glides across the property, then heads uphill toward the road, and as it moves, it seems to stretch and change shape, eventually looking almost like a human figure for a few seconds. Normally, it'd be easy to write something like this off as a camera distortion or a fake, but one detail kept people talking about this video. The family's dogs spotted the object almost immediately, and they started barking non-stop, tracking it as it moved through the yard. Then once it drifted away, they just stood there staring, completely confused by what they'd just seen. The footage went viral online, with people throwing out every explanation you can imagine. CGI, a drone or balloon caught in strange lighting, but plenty of viewers also believed they were looking at something possibly more unusual. Years later, there's still no clear explanation for what the camera captured, but whatever it was, the dogs definitely didn't like it. In October 2022, Pennsylvania mother Amanda Pitts woke up around 3:40 a.m. one night after hearing what sounded like heavy footsteps inside her house. She checked her security camera and was shocked to see this ghoulish-looking thing standing right in the kitchen doorway. Amanda woke her husband Jeffrey, who searched the entire house. Thankfully, there was no one there. There were no signs of a break-in either. The only unusual thing was their dog Ollie pacing around the kitchen. Yeah, I don't think I'd feel any more relieved that there wasn't anyone there. I mean, what was that thing? As you can imagine, the experience left Amanda pretty shook too. She couldn't get back to sleep. She also said it wasn't the first unexplained incident in the home. Motion alerts had gone off when nobody was there. A door had opened on its own, and on another occasion, the kitchen sink turned itself on. Amanda says she never believed in ghosts before moving into the house, but at this experience, had her questioning everything. Reddit user Is That Allowed posted this spooky image a few years back, saying it was captured on her motion detector home security camera. She also said that other strange things had been going on around the time this image was captured, writing, "Only me and my boyfriend live here and we were both in bed. My dog keeps reacting as if it's seeing random things behind me, keeps coming to protect me, but will jump back in fear randomly and whimper. He left for the day and came home to find a candle warmer was on and set to an 8-hour timer. We confirmed in the camera it was not on when we left, and he had to click 3 buttons to turn it on and set the timers. Laying in bed and randomly there was a clap right by my head, and my dog also came up to see what it was. I don't know if I'm reading too much into it, but I think I have a ghost friend my house." This strange image was posted to Reddit by Comrade Lennon69, who said that their family has a motion detector camera. It snaps images when it detects movement. Well, one night when everyone is out of the house, their mom got a notification that the camera had gone off, and this is the picture it took. Comrade Lennon said they didn't own any pets at the time and came home to find that no one had broken in, so what on earth was this thing? Pretty obvious to me. That's just a glowing top half of a semi-human shaped thing. So there, now you can rest easy. And finally, we have what may possibly be the most famous piece of paranormal footage captured on a security camera. The footage comes from October of 2017 at Deer Park Christian Brothers School in Cork, Ireland. A locker door suddenly swings open by itself. Moments later, another door opens. A wet floor sign gets thrown several feet across the hallway, and another sign tips over on its own. There isn't a single person visible anywhere in the footage. It's as if some invisible force is wandering through the school after dark. Well, within a few weeks of the video hitting YouTube, it had over 12 million views. It was picked up by major outlets around the world, including Today and the New York Post. Unsurprisingly, plenty of people assumed it was nothing more than a clever publicity stunt, but according to the school's principal, Aaron Wolf, he had no explanation for the footage. In his own words, "We couldn't understand how this had occurred. If it is a prank, it's a very well done one." Then things got even stranger. While reporters were looking into the story, they discovered the school had actually been built on land with some pretty grim history. The school is built on a site known as Green Gallows. In the 19th century, criminals were hanged here, said Wolf. As the footage continued to go viral, people online started picking it apart frame by frame. Wolf maintained, though, he was genuinely freaked out by the footage, saying, "People have suggested that we've used a green screen or edited someone out. I wish our school had these types of resources. Others have suggested that fishing line is used. I don't see how fishing line could open the locker, because the locker doors stay closed unless the latch on it is turned." So to this day, opinions are still split on this video. Whatever actually happened that night, the footage is one of the most famous pieces of alleged ghostly activity ever uploaded to the internet. Let's start off with this totally normal security footage of a naked guy running on all fours in the middle of the night. The clip was posted to Reddit by user VSK1. Funnily, it was posted in the public freakout subreddit rather than a cryptid or paranormal themed one. I guess this could qualify as a public freakout. Can't really speak to this guy's intentions here because I've not been in his position before, I promise. Trail camera footage out of Arizona was making the rounds online last year after it was posted by a man named Danny Pusher. The clip shows a faint figure moving through a grassy field before seemingly vanishing into thin air. Pusher explained in his caption that he'd set the camera up after hearing howling and crying sounds near a drainage wash at 5 a.m. and that the camera caught something wandering through that same area at 2:22 a.m. He was pretty upfront about having no answers, writing that he wasn't sure if it was a skinwalker, a Bigfoot, some kind of lurker, or just a person walking around the night with no light. The comments blew up with people sharing their own eerily similar experiences in the area as well. One person wrote he'd been hearing strange things behind their shed and that the drainage always seemed to have something going on around that same time of night. Their dogs acting up crying. Another said their neighborhood dogs had gone absolutely crazy the previous night and immediately connected it to Pusher's video. And then there's this comment. "Last year my son and his girlfriend saw a man running with coyotes by Stago Pit. They said the man was running like a dog and looked like he had either fur or a coyote pelt on him." Did this home security camera capture footage of someone's deceased mother? It's a bit hard to spot, but keep your eyes on the right-hand side of the frame. The figure clearly walks by the table. The uploader, nor her roommate, were awake at the time. On top of that, the Reddit user who posted the footage is called Appalachian Queen, so there's a good chance this was in the Appalachian Mountains. Tons of creepy paranormal reports and legends from that area for those who are unaware. Appalachian Queen said her roommate's mother had passed away days before this footage was recorded. She also wrote in the description, "Captured by our in-home camera. My roommate is convinced it's her mother. I do see glasses at one point, and her mom did wear glasses. No one else was in the home or awake. What do y'all think?" A couple years ago, Reddit user Just Koiru shared this photo pulled from his old high school security camera taken 7 years before. He wrote that the original footage showed the figure moving straight through a picnic table before disappearing into a classroom wall. The uploader always had an interest in the paranormal and says this particular incident is one he keeps coming back to whenever he talks about his experiences, pointing out that since the image came directly from the school's security office, the chances of it having been tampered with are pretty low. Unfortunately, the original video has been lost over the years, but he says he's actively trying to track it down. He's reaching out to old classmates in hopes that someone saved it. He did consider the possibility of students pulling a prank, but points to a couple of things that make that harder to buy. For one, the footage was captured at 2 a.m. when the area was locked and being actively monitored, and this was 2017, so AI wasn't really a thing. This series of home security camera images were posted to Reddit by user Joey's Adventures, who said his sister was going through their home security camera's events log. She came across something caught at 4 in the morning. A shadow figure that, upon closer inspection, appeared to have a head, hands, and what looked like horns at the back of it. It seemed to be heading straight into the living room. A neighbor had been visiting and was still awake at the time the image was taken, too. He told Joey and his sister that he'd stayed seated for most of the night, but at one point felt what he described as a spiritual presence walk into the room. Joey added some personal context for the night as well. He'd been having a really rough time sleeping, didn't finally drift off until around 3 a.m. On top of that, he was dealing with intense feelings of unease and anxiety that didn't seem to have any real logical cause. He also said that for the past year or two, he'd been going through recurring bouts of sleeplessness and unexplained anxiety. There were times he felt like something was in his room with him. Objects would move on their own. At one point, his dresser toppled onto its side completely unprovoked. His sister had been having her own experiences too, reporting strange occurrences and feeling like something had been following her. Joey's Adventures did try to come up with a rational explanation, saying it could have been the neighbors sitting down quickly and the camera just glitched out and created the weird image, but given everything else that had been going on, it does make the whole thing a lot stranger. The footage you just saw there comes from a department store in Chile. The store was closed at the time. There was nobody else there aside from a security guard. When he rushed down to investigate, however, there was nobody there. Classic. The figure is pretty undeniable. This is not a case of like some vague, cloudy shape floating past the lens that's likely dust. This really does look like a human figure. What do you think though? Was there an intruder, or did this security camera capture something more otherworldly? On New Year's Eve 2024, a 45-year-old man named Joe Linsky had just finished brunch with friends when a stranger walked up behind him at the 18th Street station in Manhattan's Chelsea neighborhood and he just shoved him onto the tracks right in front of an oncoming train. "I just thought I'd been pushed, I'm going to die," Linsky said. "It happened in a flash. The next thing I knew, I was flying through the air and I saw the two lights of the train in my face and I could make out the shape of the conductor, and then I crashed into the tracks and smacked my head open on the ground." He survived the fall, but there was something else to worry about. The electrified third rail inches away. If you touch it at all, you will die immediately. You cannot move. Don't kick your feet. Don't struggle, Linsky continued. He lay there, screaming for help. About 90 seconds in, a woman heard him and tried to keep him calm. 4 minutes later, he heard sirens. They dragged me a few feet to the opening between the two subway cars. They told me to raise my hands above my head. 2 firefighters on the platform pulled me onto the platform. I heard my ribs crack. It was unbelievably painful. Linsky spent 7 days in the hospital, 5 of them in the ICU. The fractured skull, 4 broken ribs, and a ruptured spleen. The man who pushed him, 23-year-old Kamel Hawkins, fled the scene, was caught later that day. When asked what he'd say to Hawkins, Linsky said, I'm choosing not to focus on the anger or resentment or negativity. I'm focusing on healing, recovering, getting myself back to my life. People get pushed onto subway tracks here in Canada too. In 2022, 39-year-old Shemsa Al-Balushi was shoved right onto the tracks at Bloor and Yonge Station in Toronto. Horrifyingly, a train was approaching. Fortunately, she managed to roll into the space right under the platform to avoid being hit. The attacker was 45-year-old Edith Frayne. She was arrested but deemed not criminally responsible for her actions due to a mental disorder. Court proceedings weren't made public, so what ultimately happened to her, I don't know. Any claustrophobics watching? Prepare yourselves. Rush hour at a busy metro station is already chaotic, but at this subway station in Istanbul, one commuter's evening got a lot worse. As Mehmet Ali Erik walked down an escalator, it suddenly split open beneath him. You just watch as he slips right into the gap. He managed to grab the banister, but the escalator kept moving, leaving him pinned and stuck inside the machinery. He was trapped in there for an entire hour. Other commuters tried to pull him out, but they couldn't. It took firefighters to finally get him free. The Istanbul Metropolitan Municipality claimed a warning sign had been placed near the broken escalator, but as you can see in the footage, crowds of people were using it anyway. This insane CCTV footage comes from October 23rd, 2018 in Rome. Republica metro station was absolutely packed. There was a big soccer match that night and thousands of fans were flooding into the subway to get there. As you can see, the escalator malfunctioned, suddenly shot forward, high speed, hurling everyone straight down. People at the bottom had no time to get out of the way, so this big pileup started. Some fans tried to escape by sliding down the sides, others tried jumping across the adjacent escalator. When it finally stopped, the stairs were crumpled at the bottom with exposed metal plates. Some people were trapped between them. More than 20 people were injured, 7 of them seriously. At least 2 needed surgery for leg injuries. One man partially lost his foot. Pretty horrific. Some reports tried to blame the fans at the time, claiming they'd been jumping and singing on the escalator right before it happened. That was later looked into and determined to be false. It was just an issue with the escalator. Talk about being distracted by your phone. This happened in Madrid in 2019. And Metro Madrid actually released this footage themselves as a warning. Their surveillance video shows a busy platform, people sitting, chatting, waiting for the train. A train pulls in on the opposite side of the tracks, and a woman gets up and starts walking toward it, eyes down, looking at her phone. She takes one step too many off the edge of the platform and drops straight onto the tracks right as a train is pulling into the station. Bystanders immediately jump down onto the tracks to help her. Remarkably, she was fine. Metro Madrid posted the footage to X, writing, "For your safety, look up from your mobile when you're walking through the platform. Not looking up when you're waiting for the subway is a distraction that can be expensive." In 2022, Kevin Cunningham, the owner of Casey's Fitness in Orchard Park, New York, received an alert from his security cameras showing what appeared to be movement inside the gym. Expecting to find an intruder, he checked the footage, but found something a lot stranger. The cameras showed strange glowing objects moving through the building. According to Cunningham, the strange lights appeared on his security cameras 4 separate times. Unsure whether the footage was caused by something ordinary like dust or insects, he contacted a digital expert from Yale University to analyze the video. Cunningham said the expert ruled out dust particles, but couldn't identify, what the objects were. The footage also caught the attention of local paranormal historian Mason Winfield, who said unusual reports are not limited to old buildings with grim histories. He explained that even modern workplaces and industrial spaces can become places where people report strange experiences. This piece of doorbell camera footage captured a UAP, posted to Reddit by user 678990655, who wrote, "Triangle UAP caught by doorcam in St. Albans, UK 2021. The title pretty much says it all. It's a quiet night in a quiet looking neighborhood, but overhead are these 3 lights in a triangular formation drifting across the sky. What are they? Clearly they're not coming from a plane. Are they all separate objects, or are these lights all attached to one large craft of some kind? Well, I have no idea. As always, interested to hear your thoughts though, so please do share in the comments." Now, I have no idea how to describe this footage. It comes from a security camera in Mexicali, Mexico, captured in 2017. So we see this shadow start to form on the concrete in this quiet parking lot at night. We have no idea what's casting it until something floats into frame. It slowly descends to the ground, making contact with the shadow, and then just kind of hovers there for a bit. It's impossible to make out what the hell this thing is though. At one point it sorta looks human-shaped, but then it morphs into this otter shape. Eventually a security guard shows up and just stands there staring at the thing, clearly pretty confused by what he's seeing too. Next up, we have a mysterious glowing sphere caught on this home security camera in Toronto. The video was uploaded to Reddit by prestigious Rabbit165, who said the footage was captured at 12:45 a.m. just this past May. Keep your eyes on the left-hand side of the frame. So this odd ball of light suddenly appears, drifting down to the ground before, in the best way I can describe it, exploding. There's this flash, and then the ball of light becomes this formless mass sitting on the road. It's really weird, and people have no idea what it is. Of course, there are some theories. A couple commenters wrote that it looks similar to ball lightning, but even ball lightning is a mystery in itself. So, what do you think of this one? Let us know down below. This strange security camera footage comes from Reddit user Spiglard, who said, "I think I might have caught a ghost on camera last night." So it was around 2 a.m. when he noticed his front porch light suddenly turn on outside his bedroom window. Since he lived with 2 roommates, he assumed one of them had stepped outside. So when he walked in the living room and found the living room light on, the ceiling fan on, the porch light on, and the front door deadbolt unlocked, he figured one of them went outside. But his alarm was immediately raised, because Spiglard said he always checked that every door and window was locked before going to bed. He searched the house, the yard, even checked the cars, expecting to find one of his roommates outside, but no, both were fast asleep in their rooms. The next day, the Redditor asked a neighbor for footage from a security camera pointed toward the house. The video shows the living room light switching on, followed by the porch light, and look closely, just seconds later, a large white mist-like shape shoots past the home's side windows. Spiglard said that shouldn't have been possible, because a couch and table blocked that part of the house, making it impossible for someone to walk across those windows. The Redditor also pointed out several other details he believes rule out a simple prank. Anyone moving that fast would have had to have sprinted across the room, but Spiglard never heard footsteps on the house's creaky floors. He also didn't hear the deadbolt unlock or the light switches being flipped, despite the bedroom being right next to him. Finally, he said that when the security camera later recorded him walking through the house, his silhouette looked clearly human, while the white figure appeared much larger, oddly shaped, also seemed to move upward toward the kitchen cabinets. The roommates, they denied having anything to do with it. Now this is some insane footage. Watch as this car smashes right through the glass doors of a parking lot into a mall. And this is where the car ended up. On the escalator. So on November 2nd, 2025, at the Fuente shopping center in Paraguay, a car crashed into the mall. According to the driver, the accelerator got stuck. Both the driver and her 71-year-old passenger were immediately rushed to the hospital. Fortunately, they lived and nobody was hurt. But man, I've had nightmares about being in this kind of situation, like driving along and then suddenly you just lose control of your car and you floor it in oncoming traffic or a crowd of people. This is like a real-life version of that. Well, I think I've just unlocked a new fear. This happened back in 2017 at a mall in Hong Kong. At least 18 people were injured when an escalator suddenly malfunctioned and reversed direction. The upward moving escalator suddenly flipped and started running downward, but not only that, it was at a much faster speed than normal, about twice as fast. People lost their balance and started tumbling as the escalator rocketed them back down, and of course, people started piling up the bottom as more and more people crashed down. Ambulances rushed to the scene and multiple people were taken to nearby hospitals. Police said one man suffered a head injury and was in serious condition. Mall representatives said the escalator had been running for years without issues. They also said it had recently passed inspection and there weren't any known mechanical problems or safety concerns at the time. Next up, we have this security footage of a major burglary. In Northridge back in 2023, a coordinated smash and grab hit a strip mall. And it wasn't just one store getting targeted, multiple were hit. This involved a lot of planning. The footage shows a group of at least 8 masked robbers moving through the plaza together. One of them is wearing a Jason mask, another is carrying what looks like a saw, multiple vehicles were involved, and there was a lookout positioned outside while the rest moved in. The first hit was a supermarket where they broke in, quickly pushing deeper into the strip mall. Once inside, they hit ATMs, cash registers. A barber shop was also ransacked with tools, tip money, and anything else of value taken before they moved out. The owner, who chose not to be identified, said it was obviously well organized. Around 4 cars were involved, and it all happened pretty fast, from about 4 a.m. to a little after 4:15. This one comes from a mall in Russia. A girl had wandered away from her mother and got her fingers trapped in the escalator. Dozens and dozens of shoppers rushed to the escalator, jumping onto the moving steps to try and stop it to free her. Others reached the emergency stop controls, and within seconds the escalator was shut down while people tried to get her hand out. One shopper later said people responded at lightning speed by jumping onto the stairs, triggering it to stop moving. Mall staff later said security had been trying to halt the escalator as well, but by the time technicians arrived, visitors had already stepped in. One spokesperson for the mall actually tried to speak out against all the people who stepped in, trying to say responding emotionally could have gotten her or other people seriously hurt. But I mean, what were people supposed to do? Just stand there and wait for workers to turn the escalator off? Insanity. Anyway, luckily the girl was freed and ended up being okay. This police chase led to a truck crashing right into a busy shopping mall. Take a look. This is body camera footage from Killeen Mall in Texas from December 21st, 2024. The pickup was driven by a man named John Darrell Schultz from Kemper, Texas. He'd been running from police after reports of a reckless driver came in from Temple PD. The chase began on the highway, lasting about 11 minutes. Eventually, Schultz pulled off the highway and headed straight into the mall's parking lot, which was packed with Christmas shoppers at the time. And he drove directly through the entrance of a JCPenney. Body cam footage shows the trooper right behind him rushing into the store immediately after. Inside, the truck is still moving, tearing through the building. An officer fires at the driver, who eventually crashes deeper in. Officers confirmed the driver had died at the scene, then removed him from the vehicle and secured the area. Inside, it was total chaos though, with people on the ground being treated on the ground for their injuries. But as horrific as this was, nobody died, aside from the perp. About a year ago, a Reddit user going by Signal Pollution 4881 posted this footage along with a story. He worked as part of the night cleaning crew at a small town movie theater along with his brother. From his very first shift, he knew something wasn't right about the place. On the first night, while cleaning one of the auditoriums, he heard what sounded like an infant crying. He figured maybe a family was just leaving a late showing, but then he was like, wait a minute, no. The theater had been closed for hours at that point. He swept the entire building, and it was completely empty, apart from him and his brother. Brother didn't really buy it at first. For the next few months, other strange things would happen though. Doors opening and closing on their own, footsteps coming from the upstairs projection area. But eventually his brother started hearing things as well, and the two of them switched to morning shifts, just too freaked out to be there at night. About 6 or 7 months in, he's upstairs in the projection area and looks up to find this shadowy figure standing around 20 feet away. No facial features. He bolted and never said a word to his brother about it. After that, he started feeling like something was watching him through the projection windows whenever he cleaned the auditoriums below. Things kind of settled back into the usual background weirdness. I mean, they'd still hear footsteps and voices. The video he posted was actually sent to him by a former coworker after they'd both left the job. Captured around Halloween. Shows some kind of black figure up in the projection area. The Redditor's heart skipped when he saw this footage. He recognized it instantly as the thing he saw at night in the projection area. This was posted to YouTube by Joey Nolan. Pretty creepy video. There's some kind of semi-translucent shape moving around at the top of the stairs. The guy who uploaded it says it was caught on his home security camera on August 8th, 2019 at 12:54 a.m. The thing keeps changing shape throughout the clip. First, it kind of looks like a small human figure stepping out of the dark kitchen and stopping at the top of the stairs, and starts looking more like two floating orbs. So I want to know what all of you think. Is it a hoax, a bit of dust floating around, or is it just too weird for rational explanation? Back in 2024, a Reddit user going by What Did You Do Ray made a post asking for some help, explaining the weird things happening with his trail camera. The camera was set up at a Christmas tree farm in Bedford, Pennsylvania, in a completely open area with no buildings or lights anywhere nearby. For 2 straight months though, the camera had been triggering at exactly 12:05 and 1 second every single night without fail. Yet every photo it took was completely empty. There was no deer or foxes or squirrels. There was just nothing. And then things got a bit stranger when the photos started showing a red light spreading across the tops of the trees, with one shot in particular showing an intensely bright red light forming a clear circle around them. Then came the photo from March 5th, 2024. It captured two blurry shapes, one hovering directly above one of the trees, and another similar blur on the ground just off the road. What made this photo stand out even more was that its timestamp was 12:05 and 2 seconds, 1 second later than every other photo in the 2-month series. That one photo was the only one that ever deviated from the pattern. They also mentioned in the comments that he tried switching the camera to video mode at some point, and while it recorded video just fine at any other time, at 12:05 a.m., it would just refuse to capture video, only ever producing a single photo. So something was triggering that camera at the exact same second every single night, hovering above those trees, casting a red light. Apparently, it did not want to be recorded on video. That security footage comes from Reddit user OKThanks3022, who says the clip is from his friend's work. According to him, whatever showed up in the footage actually set off the camera's motion sensors. One commenter said it was probably just a shadow cast by someone walking past outside, but honestly, that doesn't quite add up to me. It's not the flat black you'd expect from a shadow, and it seems to have more of a solid form to it. At first glance, I just thought it looked like a person walking through the empty restaurant, and my first thought was maybe an intruder had broken in, but it just walks straight into the wall and disappears. So what do you think is going on here? Drop your explanations down in the comments. That's not the only police chase on the list today, though. This next one happened in Melbourne, Australia last year. It's around 4 in the afternoon on a Wednesday when police get a tip about a stolen Toyota Land Cruiser, a big, heavy-duty SUV, spotted in the parking lot of the Northland Shopping Center. So officers rolled up, find the vehicle, and the driver immediately rams an unmarked police car multiple times, then takes off. Now, at this point, most people fleeing the cops would head for the road. This guy went inside the mall. He drove the Land Cruiser directly into the shopping center, through the mall, past storefronts and past the dining area. You could see the SUV navigating the corridor inches from the shops before blasting through a second set of glass doors at the other end and disappearing. Now, by some miracle, that section of the mall happened to be mostly empty at the time, so nobody got run over. 2 people were still treated on the scene, though. The Land Cruiser turned up abandoned about an hour later, a few miles away. The driver had run off and managed to stay hidden overnight, but he was arrested the next morning. He was identified from the mall's security footage. Police also confirmed the Land Cruiser had been stolen 2 weeks earlier from a home in the area. Now, this is a really weird one. It was closing time on January 12th, 2024 at the Westbrook Mall in Calgary, Alberta. Security guards noticed a pair of people on one of the security cameras acting kinda odd. They were in the food court. All the restaurants were shut down for the night, but they walked up to one of the counters and started going through the routine. Pointing at the menu, nodding, holding up fingers, like going through the motions of paying. And then they walked to the next counter, closed as well, of course. Same routine, exact same gestures, same sequence. Again, no one's behind the counter. Nothing's open. And then suddenly they turned both their heads toward an empty table at the same time, as if someone had just called their name. What do you all think of this one? Were these two just fooling around, or was something stranger going on? Share your thoughts down in the comments. This crazy footage comes from CCTV cameras at a mall in Dubai. The heist was carried out by a group called the Pink Panthers. They were credited with hundreds and hundreds of heists across 35 countries, from London to Tokyo to Dubai, of course, stealing diamonds and jewelry. The core of the group were ex-soldiers from the wars that tore through Eastern Europe in the 90s. When those conflicts ended, the economy was in the dump, so they turned to smuggling. Ron Noble, who was Secretary General of Interpol at the time, described them as, quote, the most notorious organized crime group that I've been involved in investigating in my life. They were meticulous. They'd do weeks of surveillance before they carried out their job. First, they'd send in some attractive, well-dressed woman blending in as a wealthy shopper. She'd clock the layout, the staff, like any information they'd need to carry out the job as quick and smoothly as possible. From the time they enter the door until they break all the glass in the cases, take the jewelry, and are out in less than 30 seconds, and then they have a getaway plan. In a matter of hours, they're in another country, Noble went on to say. The Dubai job is one of the most famous. They drove 2 cars straight into an upscale mall, crashed them through the doors of a jewelry store, jumped out in full commando gear, calmly smashed the cases, bagged $3.5 million worth of diamonds, got back in the cars, and drove out. The whole thing took under 45 seconds. In Geneva, they hit a luxury store, grabbed $4 million worth of diamonds, and escaped on motorcycles down a side street too narrow for police cars to follow. Swiss detective Jan Glassie, who investigated them for years, called it a cat and mouse game and said the cats usually one. They're always a step before us because they are changing the modus operandi. They are really professionals, he said. In the south of France, after posing as tourists and walking out with over $3 million in jewelry, they escaped by speedboat because the roads were too congested in summer. What made them nearly impossible to shut down was that there was no real leadership structure. There was no single guy at the top to arrest and collapse the whole operation. According to Noble, quote, they got networks, and depending on the robbery, there's someone who organized a particular robbery, but there are no kingpins. There's no Al Capone or John Gotti at the top. And when someone did get caught, they didn't talk. The crew members, many of whom had grown up together, they just kept quiet every time. It also started going after art, and in 2008 they hit a museum in Zurich and walked out with 4 paintings, the largest art robbery in European history at the time. Again in Rome, this time in 2017 at Termini metro station, a 43-year-old woman named Natalia Garkovich was on the platform. She walked into the train, then changed her mind and began stepping back out as the doors began to close. But the strap of her bag got caught. The train started moving and she went with it. Other passengers on the platform immediately realized what was happening. Some ran to help her and they were frantically trying to signal the driver, but nobody could stop it. She was dragged almost the entire length of the platform before disappearing out of the camera view. She was found lying inside the tunnel at the far end of the station. She was taken to a Rome hospital in intensive care with some pretty bad injuries, including several broken bones. Passengers on the train had tried pulling the emergency stop lever, but it didn't work. The bag strap also never triggered the automatic door sensors that are designed to prevent the doors from closing on anything. Footage also showed the driver, Gianluca Tonelli, eating a sandwich as the train pulled away. Tonelli was investigated by both Rome prosecutors and the city's transit authority. He told the press that he was, quote, devastated, but he pushed back on taking full blame, saying that he had checked his mirrors twice, that Garkovich had made an unusual movement on the platform, and that the safety system just never alerted him to anything. Transit Workers Union also backed him up. They argued he followed protocol. The signal he received indicated that it was clear to go. Empty subway stations are already a little eerie enough on their own, but the security workers monitoring cameras at a station in Batao, China got a lot more than they were expecting. The footage from 2018 shows a completely empty platform late at night. Out of nowhere, a train rolls in. It looks like a normal train, except for the fact that you can see right through it. The ghostly train sits there for a moment and then pulls away. The video was posted to the YouTube channel The Hidden Underbelly, and it went viral in China. People were genuinely at a loss to explain what they were seeing. The description read, when the station security were watching their surveillance cameras, they noticed this. My source said that in the 12 years he's worked there, he's never seen anything like this before and hopes he never does again. A 23-year-old coach driver named Craig Cooper was visiting London, heading back to his hotel, when he found himself completely alone in the underground around midnight at Queensway Station. At one point, he started to feel something. He told reporters he was very unnerved. He said he stood up from the bench and felt like someone was standing directly behind him. So he pressed his back against the platform wall and just waited for his train. Before any of this happened, he'd actually taken a photo of the platform when he first arrived, just to send to his girlfriend, who'd never been on the London Underground before. It was only after he sent it that he looked at the photo properly and noticed something in the middle of the shot. The figure of this semi-translucent bald man standing there. Craig believes it was the ghost of Winston Churchill. That seems like a leap. It's actually not as random as it sounds. Churchill had actually used a disused subway station nearby as a bunker during the war, and there had reportedly been sightings and hauntings at Queensway going back to the 80s. Since then, I've heard stories that people have seen the ghost of Winston Churchill down there. I know he had a bunker in a subway station nearby, so it could have been him, Cooper said. Now, stealing a car is one thing, but stealing a subway train? In January 2025, a group of masked teenagers broke into a storage yard in Queens, New York, and stole a train. Just before 10:30 on a Saturday night, it got into the conductor's compartment and took out onto the tracks, hitting speeds of around 30 miles per hour. At least part of the ride took them onto active train lines too. CCTV footage caught at least 6 of them climbing out of the conductor's compartment at one point, then casually just walking through the dark train car. Before all this, they tried to cover the security camera lenses with black marker to hide their faces. That didn't fully work. They were also wearing hoods and masks, so they weren't exactly easy to identify anyway. And then, because apparently that was not bold enough, they filmed the whole thing themselves and posted it to Instagram. Police were still hunting for the suspects days later. They fled the scene on foot, and as of the time of reporting, nobody had been caught. In 2022, surveillance cameras at a subway station in the Bronx caught a deeply disturbing incident. Around 4:40 in the afternoon, a man, later identified as 30-year-old Theodore Ellis, grabbed a 52-year-old woman on the platform and threw her onto the tracks. The victim was taken to the hospital with a broken collarbone, a dislocated shoulder, and a head injury. She was listed in stable condition, though. During the investigation, Ellis told investigators he was the man in the video, saying, "I didn't mean to push her onto the tracks. I was drinking." So yeah, I really cleared things up. This was not an isolated incident either. It was part of this string of people being pushed onto New York City's subway tracks that year, enough that the head of the city's transit agency went on record urging riders to stay away from the edge of the platform. On February 17, 2004, a 68-year-old man was at the Jusco shopping center in Yokkaichi, Japan, when a young woman with a baby strapped to her chest tried to grab the man's bank card. Startled, he turned around and grabbed the woman's arm, and that's when she started screaming that he was a thief. People nearby really had no idea what was going on. All they heard was this woman screaming thief, so they jumped in. They grabbed the man, pinned him down. Police arrived and detained him. He started vomiting before losing consciousness. Next day, he died at the hospital from heart failure. The woman and the baby were already gone by the time anyone thought to look for her. The case seemed pretty cut and dry to them, though. The man attacked the woman, but the man's family urged them to look into it more. They just couldn't believe that, their family member would do something like that. Investigators pulled the CCTV footage, and they couldn't believe it. The story totally flipped. It turned out that the woman had actually followed the man after he withdrew cash from the ATM and tried to rob him. He was the victim. So where was she? They needed to pull her in for questioning. Well, they sifted through all the footage from that day, every camera, and they never saw this woman enter or exit the mall. It was like she just appeared out of nowhere. The full video of the incident has never been released, but there are a couple stills. This is the woman standing in a dark corner close to the ATM just before the incident, and police also released a still image of her face, hoping someone would recognize her, and that image has since taken on a life of its own online. Suffice to say, it's pretty spooky. Nobody's ever identified her. She's simply known as the ATM Phantom. On September 21st, 2013, a normal Saturday afternoon at Nairobi's Westgate shopping mall suddenly became the scene of a deadly attack. Just after noon, 4 armed members of the militant group Al-Shabaab entered the mall and began. Everyone was caught completely off guard. Within minutes, people were running for exits, hiding inside shops, locking themselves in storage rooms, and searching for anywhere they could stay out of sight. This went on for days. Security forces surrounded the mall while rescue teams worked to get trapped civilians out of the building. Some people spent all that time hiding in dark rooms, unsure if help would reach them or if the attackers were still nearby. By the time everything was over, on September 24th, 71 people had lost their lives, including civilians, members of the security forces, and the 4 attackers. Around 200 others were also injured. Al-Shabaab later claimed responsibility and said the attack was connected to Kenya's military operations in Somalia. And yes, there is CCTV footage, which YouTube will not allow us to play, but I can go over some of the details. Cameras recorded the attackers moving between floors, entering stores, spending time inside the supermarket that seemed to be their main base. In several clips, they can be seen carrying supplies taken from shops, communicating with one another as they moved through the building. Once it was over, investigators used that CCTV footage, along with witness statements and forensic evidence, to piece everything together, building this full timeline of what happened. Pretty disturbing case. If I were to tell you there was a mysterious figure in this image, what would you think I was talking about? I mean, you'd probably start scanning all the dark, shadowy areas, trying to pick out some vaguely human shape lurking in the corner, but no, the mysterious figure is actually the person right in the middle of the frame. Yeah, nobody knows who that is. This image was posted to Reddit by Defend Aloha. It comes from a friend of his named Kimberly. One night in August of 2019, Kimberly came home sometime between 1 and 2 in the morning. She was gonna head upstairs to let her dad know she was home, but then she heard a strange noise. She quickly checked the main floor before going upstairs. Everything seemed quiet, but the moment she reached the top of the stairs, the home alarm system went off. Her phone lit up with a warning saying an intrusion had been detected. Her dad rushed out of his bedroom and tried to get the rest of the family into one upstairs room while he checked the house. Room by room, everything looked normal until he opened the door leading into the garage. The garage door to the outside was wide open. Around the same time, Vivint, the security company, called to check if the family was safe. And since no one was found inside the house and there was no immediate threat, they ended the call. But then another alert came through. The security camera in the living room had detected movement and sent a notification including a video clip. This was the thumbnail. The problem was, when they played the actual video, there was nothing there. They scrubbed through frame by frame. It was just an empty room the entire time. The figure only shows up in that thumbnail. And no, it wasn't Kimberly. She wasn't wearing anything close to what the figure appeared to have on, and it certainly wasn't her dad. So just who or what the hell was creeping around their house that night? This next clip was posted to Reddit by Gabber Flasm, who said the footage was sent to him from his mom's security camera. Watch the trees in the background here. The figure walks through the forested area behind the property and seemingly vanishes after crouching down. The Redditor said it's his brother in the video, and that he never heard or saw anyone at the time. And no nearby neighbors would be walking on the property like that either. And even if this was some stranger skulking through the forest, what's the explanation for them disappearing like that? This next video comes from the YouTube channel Aloha Treasures. So this woman has security cameras on the inside and outside of her home and said that strange things had been going on lately. She'd been seeing things in the house, but she got confirmation one day when she saw a mysterious shadowy figure show up on the living room camera, standing in a doorway. So she jokes about how it could be her ex-husband breaking into her house, but I mean, yeah, it could be though. I mean, this is not a case of a bug on the lens or like dust floating around creating what looks like a shadowy shape. No, someone is definitely in that room. Ever seen a car accident involving a ghost? Well, you're about to. So these guys were cruising through the parking lot when something runs out in front of the car. A dark, shadowy shape. And this has nothing to do with the camera because the car stops and two people get out thinking they've hit something. Clearly they saw what the camera picked up. They look all over though, but find no signs of an injured animal or anything like that. Whatever the thing was, it wasn't there anymore. Reddit user 1ondo1ants posted this next clip. His motion-activated security camera picked up someone or something seemingly floating into his house. Luckily, there was no sign of an intruder though. In fact, those sliding doors by the back deck, they were always closed and locked up at night. So his mind was partially at ease, but not entirely. What the hell was captured on camera here? It looks like it floats right through the glass. The footage left him pretty shaken up, and he doesn't really like thinking about it. His grandmother had died just months before this was captured, and his mom thought it was her watching over them. I don't have much context for this next clip. Apparently it's CCTV footage captured at a school though. It's hard to spot at first, but keep your eyes on the second floor. A dark figure dashes across the walkway at a pretty decent clip too. It's semi-translucent and impossible to make out any features. Is it just a case of poor quality camera, or is something more mysterious going on here? What are all your thoughts? Leave your comments down below. John Wheeler was a high-level guy in DC. He'd worked as an aide for 3 different presidents. It was a big deal in the defense world. On New Year's Eve in 2010, his body was found by a worker at a landfill in Wilmington, Delaware. He'd been beaten to death and thrown into a trash bin. When the police looked at CCTV from the days before he died, they found footage that didn't make any sense given his background. On December 29th, the camera in a parking garage caught Wheeler looking totally lost. He was in his suit, but he was missing one of his shoes and was carrying it around in his hand. He looked confused and was wandering through the garage like he didn't know where he was. He told people at the garage that he had been robbed, but he never called the cops. The medical examiner confirmed that this was a homicide, but beyond that, the case is still a total mystery. Trevor Deely worked for a bank in Dublin. He went missing after a Christmas party in December of 2000. For years, the investigation didn't have much to go on, but in 2017, this CCTV footage was released. The footage shows Trevor walking home at 4 in the morning in a heavy downpour. As he passes a bank, there's a man in a dark hoodie standing there in the shadows of the doorway. As soon as Trevor passes by, the man in the hoodie steps out and begins following him. A camera further down the street catches Trevor again a few minutes later, and the same hooded figure is still right there, trailing behind him. That was the last time Trevor was ever seen. The police looked closer at the earlier footage. They realized the man had been waiting outside the bank for over 30 minutes before Trevor showed up. It looked like he was specifically waiting for someone. Because of the low camera quality in the hood, his face is never clear, and he's never been identified. On the morning of September 14, 2007, a boy named Andrew Gosden did something completely out of character. He was a gifted student with a 100% attendance record at his school in Doncaster, England. That morning, he didn't go to class. Instead, he waited for his parents to leave for work, then went back inside his house, changed out of his school uniform into a black Slipknot t-shirt and jeans, and headed to a local ATM. He withdrew money, nearly everything in his account, and bought a one-way train ticket to London. The only confirmed footage of Andrew from that day comes from the CCTV cameras at King's Cross Station. He arrived at 11:20 a.m., and the video shows him walking through the station and heading out the main exit 5 minutes later. He didn't look at all distressed. Sadly, the police didn't actually pull this footage for 27 days. By the time they realized Andrew had even gone to London, almost every other camera in the city had already looped over its footage. So these short clips are the only visual leads they have. There was no evidence he used the internet to meet someone. He didn't even have an email address. The whole thing is just very strange. In December 2009, 30-year-old Stephen Kocher left his home in St. George, Utah, and drove his car 2 hours away to a residential neighborhood in Henderson, Nevada. He didn't have any friends or family there. He didn't even tell anyone that he went. The only evidence of his arrival is a grainy shot from a neighbor's security camera in a cul-de-sac. The footage shows Stephen parking his car at the end of the street and walking across the pavement. It's hard to make out, but he's carrying something, possibly a folder or some papers, and that's it. He never returned to his car, and he was never seen again. When the car was found abandoned a few days later, his keys and cell phone were missing, but his clothes and other personal belongings were still inside. His phone continued to ping in that area for 2 more days before it finally died, but searches of the surrounding desert and neighborhoods turned up. In June 2009, a man using the name Peter Bergman checked into a small hotel in Sligo, Ireland. From the start, his behavior was strange, and almost all of it was captured on CCTV. Over several days, cameras followed him, walking calmly through the town, always wearing the same black outfit and carrying a purple plastic bag. Multiple cameras catch him stopping at random locations, taking items out, carefully disposing of them in public trash bins. He does this repeatedly, methodically. It's like he's making sure no single bin gets too much attention. When police later reviewed the footage, they realized he disposed of every personal item he owned. No ID, no labels on his clothes, no paper trail. Even the name Peter Bergman turned out to be fake. On June 16th, CCTV shows him leaving his hotel for the last time and heading toward a secluded beach. His body was found days later, dead from drowning. There's tons of footage of him. We clearly see his face, but no one's ever come forward to identify him.
Next up, we have 3 incredibly strange videos captured on home security cameras that might just give you nightmares. These videos were shared to social media platform TikTok by Mandy, a mother of 2, who became incredibly disturbed after her Ring camera alerted her to movement taking place outside of her home. In the video, you can clearly see the shadow of a person standing to the right side of the camera, but what's really creepy here is the audio. In an almost witch-like voice, the figure says, "Let me in," before it begins scratching on the door and trying to open it. After the incident, Mandy began to monitor her cameras much more closely, and to her dismay, a few nights later she saw a figure in a black hood lingering outside her shed. And a few days after that, the same figure was seen lurking around the premises of her home and standing directly under the room in which Mandy, at the time, would have been consoling her sick child. The family has contacted authorities, but there's been no update since. However, However, I do have goosebumps all over my body right now. Next up, we have the Erickson twins captured on police body cam footage after the officers had been called to the scene to investigate the woman's strange behavior. The Swedish sisters Ursula and Sabina had been seen acting up after exiting a public bus. They tried to board another but were denied entry. The pair made their way over to the highway and they were seen dashing in and out of traffic. When police arrived on the scene and attempted to apprehend the woman, they once again ran into the road until they were both struck down by oncoming vehicles. Ursula suffered severe injuries and Sabina was briefly unconscious but awoke soon after, attacked the officers and refused medical help, which ultimately led to her arrest. Sabina was eventually released, but her freedom didn't last long. Shortly after leaving police custody, she ended the life of Glenn Hollingshed with a large blade after the stranger had agreed to take her into his home so that she could use his phone to contact Ursula. No one knows why either of the women did what they did. There was no evidence of drugs or alcohol involved at either incident, but some have speculated that the twins might have suffered from something called shared psychosis, a rare disorder in which a delusion is shared by two or more people in a close relationship. But what do you guys think? For this next one, we're keeping things somewhat light with a video of an unknown man showing off his leg strength in the province of Shaanxi, China. In security footage captured by the city of Linfen, the man can be seen delivering a powerful kick to one of the concrete columns lining the bridge that he had been walking on. The column, attached to all of the others by a metal chain, falls into the water and then begins dragging the rest down with it. The man who delivered the blow stands back and watches before fleeing the scene. It's unknown why the man decided to kick the column down in the first place, whether or not he knew what would happen or whether or not he was arrested. However, I think we can all agree while vandalism is bad, the domino effect of the columns was pretty satisfying to watch. Next up, we have Peter Bergman, also known as the man who didn't exist. In 2009, the man, presumed to have been in his 50s or 60s, checked into a hotel in Austria under the name Peter Bergman. While at the hotel, he disposed of all his belongings in a purple plastic bag while avoiding security cameras and then went on to purchase 8 stamps from the local post office. Peter went back to the hotel where he was captured on CCTV and grabbed a taxi. The driver dropped him off at Ross Point Beach, and that was the last time the man was ever seen. His body was discovered along the shore the following day around 8 a.m. An investigation began, which led law enforcement to the discovery that Peter Bergman didn't exist. The man had used a fake name and a fake address when checking into the hotel. Not only that, but all of the labels on the man's clothes had been carefully removed so that it would be unclear where he had purchased them from, and his movements prior to the day of his disappearance could not be tracked. While police were able to determine that the man had died of cardiac arrest, they were never able to determine who he was and why he had worked so hard to keep his identity a secret. Next up, we have CCTV footage taken from a home security camera that captured the last known moments of Stephen Kocher before his disappearance without a trace on December 14th of 2009. Stephen had called his friends just 2 days earlier to inform them that he had left his home in Utah to visit Las Vegas, Nevada. However, based on the CCTV footage, his last known whereabouts was Henderson, which is about a 30-minute drive from the Las Vegas Strip without traffic. In the surveillance video, he can be seen parking his car filled with wrapped gifts for his family members on the street of a wealthy neighborhood. After he parked, he got out of his vehicle, crossed the street, and made his way down the road. He was never seen again. No one is sure why he would have parked his car in the neighborhood or what might have happened to him after he did. His cell phone signal was picked up at various locations several miles away from where he left his car, but after 2 days, the signal died and the trail was lost. And finally, to finish off our list today, we have the mysterious disappearance of Dale Kerstetter, who was last seen in a surveillance video taken from inside of the Glassworks plant where Dale once worked as a security guard. On September 12th of 1987, Dale had been working the evening shift at the plant when all of a sudden an unknown masked man entered the building. Dale was last seen leading the man through the building while staring directly at the plant's security cameras, possibly in duress, before disappearing out of frame, never to be seen again. However, the masked intruder who made off with $250,000 worth of platinum pipe is seen again, wheeling a large bag out of the plant. While some believe that Dale, who had been in debt at the time, was working with the masked man, his family members maintain that he was an innocent bystander in the incident, and that it's likely the bag they saw leaving the plant in the wheelbarrow had contained Dale's body. To this day, no trace of Dale or the stolen merchandise have ever been found, and the case remains remains a mystery.
This next piece of security footage comes from Reddit user OKThanks3022, who said the footage comes from his friend's workplace and that whatever this thing was, it activated the motion sensors on the camera. Take a look at this. Someone in the comments said it was probably a shadow from someone walking outside, but it doesn't really look like that to me. It's not just black like shadows are, and it has a more solid shape to it. At first, it actually just looks like someone walking through the empty restaurant. I thought it may have been an intruder, but then they just walk into the wall and vanish. Any explanations for this one? Let us know in the comments. Posted to Reddit by SS Shooter is this creepy piece of home security footage. SS Shooter wrote, "My buddy caught this footage on his Blink camera. A figure appears from behind the right tree. When the motion lights activate, the figure seems to disappear. It looks small, like a child, but moves kinda weird. Any thoughts?" I do have thoughts. I think this is legitimately strange. I know home security cameras can be kinda janky sometimes. What looks like a semi-translucent, ghostly entity usually isn't. But this one is kinda different. Someone or something was there, but then it completely disappears when the light hits it. I don't really have any solid explanation for this one. What do you all think though? Glowing orb footage is a dime a dozen, especially these days, but have you ever seen a mysterious orb transform into a person? Well, you're about to. So this happened early in the morning on August 22nd, 2024, around 4:26 a.m. A security camera in Mexico caught this glowing ball of light floating across a field, but you can see it slowly changes shape, forming into a person, seemingly. Actually, it looks more like two people standing close together. Now, for the sake of transparency here, I don't think there's anything paranormal going on here. I'm chalking this up to two people walking across a field and that not so great camera only picking up the flashlight on their phone until they stand still and they kind of morph into view. Still, it does make for a pretty strange piece of footage. This next video is very real and pretty unsettling. How would you like to step outside and see this guy lurking around in your yard? In the middle of the night, some dude was creeping around people's houses armed to the teeth. He had a hammer hanging off his belt, an axe, and yes, that long, sharp object he's holding under his arm is a sword. You don't see that every day, thankfully. Luckily, nobody gets hurt here. He doesn't even try to break in. He just steals a few things from outside and then leaves. Clearly, he was ready for things to get violent though. I mean, I don't think anyone shows up at someone's door brandishing a sword and a hammer unless they're ready to use it. In 2023, a now deleted Reddit user posted this eerie video. His home security camera caught what he says is a shadow figure gliding down his stairs in the middle of the night. Something that left him and his family pretty shaken. Here we see this dark shape drift down the steps before slipping behind a wall and vanishing. The man explained that his motion sensor usually picks up harmless little white orbs, which he assumed were just dust or bugs, but this time he said, last night was different. It caught this figure, shadow, or whatever you want to call it, moving down my stairs. What makes it worse is that his family had already been kind of uneasy for a bit. He wrote, "My family and I have had a sense of being watched before, but this blew my mind. I am terrified. Please help." The post quickly filled up with people offering theories, some saying it might be a camera glitch or a light distortion. Others said it just looked way too smooth and deliberate to be a technical issue. As always, what do you think? And we're kicking off this list with the ghost patient. In this security camera footage from a hospital in Argentina, we see a security guard sitting at his desk. It's late and there's nobody else in the foyer aside from the guard. At least that's the way it looks to us. We watch as the automatic doors open, as if someone is entering into the hospital. Only there's nobody actually there. Or is there? The security guard seems to think there is, because he gets up from his desk and walks over to check this invisible person in. We watch him talk to what looks like thin air before allowing whoever or whatever it is inside. The guard later said that he had seen a woman walk into the hospital. She said she'd left something in the room she'd been staying in. The staff were of course pretty creeped out by the footage, especially when it was discovered that the name he'd taken down when letting the invisible entity into the hospital was the same name as a woman who had died just the previous day. Coming in at number 9, we have Miss Abigail. In this footage taken in a building in Houston, Texas, we see a security guard once again having a conversation with what looks like thin air. His coworker watching the cameras is filming her screen, completely confused by what she's seeing. Then she radios in to the guard asking who he's talking to. He responds by saying he's speaking with Miss Abigail, who's looking for Mr. Griffin. The coworker becomes even more confused now, saying, "You sure you're saying Miss Abigail? She died 2 years ago." She then goes on to say that there's nobody in the hallway with him. Suddenly it sinks in for the guard and he turns around and starts running down the hallway. Fair enough, that would probably be my reaction as well. Even if this is just a hoax, it's such a creepy idea. Imagine having what you think is just some innocuous conversation with somebody, only to be told, hey bud, nobody there with you. I also have this haunting image in my mind of how this supposed ghost looked once the guard was told he wasn't talking to anyone. Did Miss Abigail disappear? Or even creepier, and what I'm kind of picturing is that she just stood there completely still, staring blankly at him until he ran away. Next on the list we have the poltergeist. In the security footage captured in a 200-year-old school in Cork Island called Deer Park CBS, we see a series of paranormal phenomena take place. First, a door at the end of the hallway seemingly opens on its own before violently slamming shut. Then a filing cabinet or locker starts rocking back and forth out of nowhere. One of the lockers opens up and papers start flying out on their own. A wet floor sign suddenly flips out. I don't know, it spins around and collapses. Whatever was causing this to happen was not in a good mood that night. Number 7, the hospital ghost. This is a story that was posted to Reddit by user Dr. Basio. Goes as follows. I work as a doctor in a hospital in the UK and was on a night shift that was particularly quiet. Some of the nurses were sitting around telling this story. A young doctor was running to a crash call. Our hospital is a giant L shape, with the front entrance being at the bend. A woman stopped him and asked him which way the exit was. He directed her and kept running. When he got to the patient, it was the woman who had asked him for directions. She had died. Apparently it got caught on the CCTV that the doctor stopped running midway down the hallway and gestured toward the exit while saying something to no one in particular. So supposedly, the confused spirit of this patient who had just died spoke to the doctor, who was racing over to save her life. Pretty spooky stuff. And hey, if there's any place where paranormal stuff like this is gonna take place, it's gotta be a hospital. At number 6, we have one that's pretty similar to the Miss Abigail video. This footage was originally uploaded to TikTok by the security guard in the video, Luis de Alvarez, who took it down soon after, utterly traumatized by the entire event. He was working as a night guard and was alone patrolling a floor he was on when he spotted an old lady. We watch as he walks over to who he believes is a person, although we can't see anyone but him in the footage. He begins talking to what he later described as an old lady who was saying she was lost. But another guard tells him over his walkie-talkie that there's nobody there. He's the only one on the floor. The guard was waiting for the elevator, but decided to just leg it out of there as fast as he could. We cut to another angle, and he's running through the parking lot, and then just out of the building completely. Ran halfway across the city, I'm sure.
At number 5 is the Ventura Bar. It's the dead of the night and chairs start sliding around by themselves. The bar manager shared this video on social media and it gave everybody the heebie-jeebies. Fast forward a few weeks and we've got more chair shenanigans, but this time it's broad daylight and people are watching in disbelief. Did somebody tick off a vengeful spirit? That's one theory, and it's pretty eerie. But here's the kicker. This bar isn't your average watering hole. No, it's got a wall filled with pictures of every customer and employee who's passed away. Could this possibly be a ghostly reunion spot? And here in the video at 1 minute and 40 seconds, we might just be getting closer to discovering who these relentless spirits are. At number 4 is the chair out of thin air. Here we've got a spooky video showing a chair materializing out of nowhere. And that's just way more terrifying than just objects moving around. Could this chair possibly be from another dimension, or is there something more sinister going on? Take a look at this clip focusing on the middle desk around 2 minutes in. Between 2 minutes and 2 minutes and 7 seconds, someone must have really ticked off a spirit or something. Now you might be thinking, maybe that chair was hiding in the shadows all along, but hold on, if somebody's under that desk, they would have pushed the chair against the wall, right? So how did it suddenly change direction and keep going? It's a head scratcher. Plus, this was filmed way after working hours, so unless somebody pulled an all-nighter under that desk just for this video, it seems like there's some spooky stuff going on in this office. And number 3 is the ghost alarm. Here's another intriguing clip coming from straight out of the ghost subreddit. This one was shared by user Raman8, and the title simply says, quote, "Something set off the security footage on one of our properties. Nothing was stolen. This is the footage." Take a gander at the video and you might just be up for some chills. Upon first glance, it seems like there's nothing out of the ordinary. But as you look closely, there's actually a shadowy figure lurking in the background, almost as if it's walking through thin air. Now, I know it might be easy to dismiss this as just a camera glitch or something, but that eerie outline of a person is should be enough to send shivers down your spine. The Reddit user mentioned that the front door mysteriously opened, triggering the security footage. Could it be the work of a malevolent spirit? Some speculate that the ghost's energy triggered the alarm and opened the door, creating that ghostly appearance on the video. What's your take, internet detectives? Could this be genuine evidence of another worldly entity crossing into our realm? Or is this just a trick of the light and dust playing with our imagination? The user did some follow-up a year later, reporting no other strange incidents and no local spirit activity. It might be a one-time haunting, but it's still pretty unsettling. What do you guys think? Share your thoughts down below. At number 2, the water watches back. Back in 1924, aboard the SS Watertown, a bizarre and chilling incident occurred. You see, 2 crewmen, James Courtney and Michael Meehan, met a tragic end while cleaning the oil tanker's cargo tank. Gas fumes claimed their lives in an instant, and they were given a burial at sea near the Mexican coast. But the horror didn't end there. You see, the very next day, a crew member claimed to have seen their faces in the waves. A ghastly vision lasting a terrifying 10 seconds. This eerie spectacle repeated over several days. When the ship reached New Orleans, Captain Tracy, driven by the inexplicable events, decided to document it. He purchased a camera, and when those spectral faces emerged once again, he captured the hair-raising image you can now see here. Strangely, once this picture was photographed, all the sightings ceased. A spine-tingling tale of the unexplained phenomena that lingers in the annals of maritime history. And at number 1 is the Madonna of Bachelor's Grove. No, not the Madonna of pop, but a mysterious figure from the afterlife. The Ghost Research Society of America stumbled upon this eerie enigma back in 1991 at the forsaken Bachelor's Grove Cemetery. While Mary Huff took pictures with her infrared camera, everything seemed pretty mundane, but the real shocker came during the development process. In one frame, a woman perched on a tombstone clad in outdated attire, gazing into the abyss. Who was this woman? Well, nobody knows. Was this her own grave she pondered on, or a loved one's? The chilling part is that no one ever saw this woman, yet there she was, captured forever in that still frame, a specter from the beyond. Pretty spooky, right?
What in the world is going on with this pool stick? This one comes from Reddit user Pumpkin Man, who shared the footage along with the caption, "I have a video of surveillance camera footage capturing a pool stick inexplicably snap itself in half on the leg of a pool table. This happened in a children's playroom at a small rural church. There have been dozens of other incidents of paranormal activity at this church, spanning multiple decades. The people who I know personally that took this video and work at this church fully believe the place is haunted by a child ghost." Now, I gotta say, I've seen some paranormal videos on this channel before. This one's up there for me. This is pretty weird. The way that thing's moving sounds like they believe what they're seeing. This next video comes from a hospital. A security guard was doing his rounds when he came across this wheelchair in the middle of the room. So he stands there, scratching his head, probably wondering what it's doing sitting there. But then it starts to move. At first he doesn't notice it, but when he turns back to look at the chair, it's of course now facing in the total opposite direction, so all he can do is stand there stunned, likely too petrified to move. It's bad enough worrying about your bike getting stolen as it is without ghosts getting involved. This security footage was captured in Pakistan back in 2020. So what in the world? Now, there doesn't seem to be any strong winds blowing. Of course, there's nobody nearby either. Nothing that would cause the bike to roll on its own like that and then fall to the ground. So what happened? Was a ghost trying to steal someone's bike, then realized that they had no clue how to ride and just ditched it? Probably. But what do you all think? Thoughts in the comments, please. This one comes from Reddit user SignalPollution4881, who says he used to work at a haunted movie theater. He shared this security footage of something seeming to move past the camera. Take a look at this. Now, this footage on its own, I mean, it's weird, but it's not that crazy, right? Well, the backstory, there's a lot going on. So he and his brother worked the night shift cleaning the theater, and from their first shift, something felt off. During that first night, the uploader heard a baby crying in an empty auditorium, even though the building had been closed for hours. He searched the entire place, but it was empty. And over the next several months, they experienced odd things, doors opening and closing on their own, unexplained footsteps in the upstairs projector room. Eventually, even his brother, who'd been skeptical at first, became convinced that something was definitely wrong. About 6 or 7 months in, the uploader was alone upstairs when he saw a black figure about 20 feet away. It seemed to have no face. It was just this eerie, shadowy mass. Terrified, he ran off without even saying a word to his brother. From then on, he constantly felt like he was being watched through the projection windows. About a year later, his brother saw a thick black smoke cloud form out of nowhere in the bathroom before vanishing. Shaken, they finally started talking about their experiences. They kept working there though, because the pay was decent and the shifts were short. The activity mostly quieted down, just the occasional mysterious footstep. Sometimes they'd see things moving and would hear disembodied voices. This video came later after they'd already quit. It was sent to him by a former coworker around Halloween and seems to show the same black figure he once saw in the projection booth. These creepy images were shared to X by Scared for Life 2, who wrote that their friend works at Central Library in Manchester. In October of 2019, the uploader popped in for a visit, and the friends shared these images. They came from the security camera in the basement corridors. Now, I don't know about this place having any history of paranormal activity, but it was built in 1934, not super old, especially by England standards, but it is enough time to have racked up some history. And if anyone had died in the building, or was just someone who had a fondness for the place, maybe they never left.
Caught on CCTV cameras. And number 10 is this first demon caught on CCTV. This eerie photograph from 2008 reveals something inexplicable, and it's not a Photoshop trick either. It's a real head scratcher. Neil Sandback, a photographer, was just doing his job, snapping pictures for a couple planning their wedding in Hertfordshire. But when he examined his digital shots, he found a puzzling figure. In the corner of the building, there was a glowing, ghostly apparition of a younger human. What's unsettling is the level of detail. You can make out facial features which oddly resemble more of a skull than a human face. Even more chilling, the farm staff had witnessed a similar figure, a young man in white night clothes. Real or not, this one is a bone-chilling mystery. At number 9 is the man on CCTV. A car's dash cam captured something inexplicable. At around 2:30 in the morning, as the car cruised down a desolate highway, a man in blue shorts and a white t-shirt seemed to just appear out of thin air. The car then would go to pass right through him, and when the driver looked back, the mysterious figure had vanished into the night. It's like he just popped out of nowhere, materializing out of thin air from the ether itself. Was this a ghost? The skeptics argue it might be a shadowy illusion cast in front of the vehicle, but the truth remains as elusive as the apparition itself. If you're enjoying this video so far, please support the channel by pressing like, subscribing to Most Amazing, and ringing that notification bell. I personally would really appreciate it if you did. At number 8 is the haunted barbershop CCTV. This unsettling video from just a regular barbershop things take a bizarre turn. You see, at first, it seems just like an ordinary day with someone getting a haircut and the staff going about their business. But then, something spine-tingling happens. The barber's cape mysteriously moves on its own. It's the kind of moment that makes you wonder, did I really see that? So they decided to review the CCTV footage, and that's when the hair-raising reality hits them. Watch closely as the blue cape shifts inexplicably. You might be asking, when will someone notice? And they actually do, and their reaction is exactly what you'd expect. Now, here comes the most hair-raising part. This clip goes on to become even more disturbing, giving you the kind of creeps that make you question the boundaries of the known and unknown, leaving you lingering with that fleeting sense of eerie uncertainty. At number 7 is the Manchester office security footage. Security guards casually scanning through their surveillance screen on the early hours of November 1st were just minding their business, but then the mundane turns into a nightmarish roller coaster ride. You see, at precisely 3 a.m., the entire office undergoes a freakish transformation. All the computers' power go on simultaneously, casting an eerie blue glow. Then chairs begin to take flight, seemingly possessed by an invisible force. Cabinets swing open on their own, and the office paraphernalia dance like marionettes gone wild, a scene right out of a horror movie. Now, what's so peculiar about 3 a.m.? Well, some folks call it the witching hour. The boundary between our world and the supernatural realm supposedly weakens to a thin veil, allowing mischievous spirits to cross over. Could it be that these relentless entities chose this unholy hour to unleash their chaos on this unsuspecting office? Footage certainly raises more questions than it answers. Check it out for yourself. At number 6 is the Croatia found footage. A truly spine-tingling video from Croatia that'll make you question the very fabric of reality as you know it. So when these two guys are just chilling, have a good time, they suddenly spot something bizarre in the distance. At first they're just like, meh, what was that? And even laugh it off, but that's where it gets scary. This eerie figure starts getting closer, and the dudes, well, I mean, they're strangely pretty chill. I mean, seriously, if I saw that thing, I'd be sprinting for the hills. The way it moves is just unnatural and disturbing, but hold on to your horses because it gets worse. When they finally make a run for it, the thing starts chasing them, standing upright like something out of a horror movie. And here's the kicker. The description claims that these guys vanished after this incident. Seriously, you'll want to check out the video and decide for yourself.
Number 5, night shift. Oh boy, working alone at night in a big empty building, just the thought of that sends shivers down my spine. In this story, posted to Reddit by True Denter, they describe their encounter with a man who seemingly disappeared into thin air. I used to work at a place which was required to be manned 24 hours a day. Anyways, security is kinda tight. Bars on windows, multiple locked doors to get to where I am. They would give me work to do during the night, but underestimated how quickly I could get it done, so now it's getting to be the last third of my shift when all of a sudden I hear a door close. I look at the security camera and see someone walking down a hall towards my room. First I thought it was just somebody that came in ridiculously early, so I turn around and wait for them to come in, but nobody came in, and the hairs start rising on my back. Now this isn't a really big building, so I figure I'll find the guy wherever he is. I start checking offices and storage rooms, but come up empty-handed. However, I do see that a fire door had shut. I go to try and rewind the camera, but the digital recording is password protected and I don't know the password. Anyways, the whole thing freaked me out. The way the person was walking down the hallway, like a determined walk right to where I was. So I sit with my spine tingling for the last couple hours of my shift, and finally people start coming in. My replacement shows up and I tell her what I saw, and at this point I figure I must have imagined the whole thing. I'm told to go home, and the manager and the girl who replaced me would look over the camera. After getting home, I call my manager and ask what was on the camera. So they said that the video showed the fire door closing, but then the video froze for about an hour. The next thing it records is me reopening the door. Next up, we have Son's Ghost. In 2019, a woman named Jennifer Hodge received an alert on her phone from her Nest Cam, which detects movement and sound. Reading, "Take a look. Your entryway camera spotted a person." She'd been watching TV with her daughter and was about to fall asleep when she got this notification. They looked at the image, and it showed what looked to be a ghostly figure standing in their kitchen. Her daughter immediately said, "Mom, look, it looks like Robbie." Robbie was her brother and Jennifer's son, who had passed away 2 years earlier. But they both agreed that the figure in the photo captured by the camera did look exactly like Robbie. They immediately ran to the kitchen, but there was nobody there, and no signs of forced entry either. Hodge described feeling comforted by the situation, though, saying, "I felt like he was letting me know he's happy in heaven." Number 3, the bike. This is another story posted to Reddit by user TJS252, who wrote the following. "I used to have an apartment pretty close to my office. The office building was kind of on its own relative to the city's commercial district. I sold the apartment, and before moving into my new home, I left my bicycle chained to the building's bike rack. It was only to be there for a few days and at no man's land before I was able to move it into my new place. Anyway, one day in the middle of the week, I come into the office, walk past the bike rack, and notice it's completely empty. The building has a bunch of security cameras, and one more or less is facing the bike rack. I sit and watch the security tape with the IT guy. We're watching, see everyone leave the office the night before, see the bike, keep watching, then all of a sudden, poof, bike gone. We slowed the tape down, and it seemed like when you're watching a digital cable or satellite and the image gets garbled, literally it was bike there, then poof, gone. In the tape's timestamp, it literally happened in 1 second. I assume my bike got taken down to the upside down." Coming at number 2, we have the ghost attack. Here we see a security camera footage that looks to be coming from an office or apartment building. We see this guy walking down the hallway when all of a sudden something sends him flying back to the floor. You can see a very obvious dark shadowy shape appear, which then begins dragging the dude down the hallway by the leg. Luckily, it doesn't drag him very far before disappearing though, and the man, now free from the mysterious entity's grasp, stumbles to his feet and starts booking it back the way he came. Whatever friend he was seeing, appointment he had booked, whatever it wasn't happening that day. Being violently dragged down a hallway by a shadowy entity kinda has a way of disrupting your plans for the day, I reckon. Now, as to whether this video is real or not, let me know what you think. I think it's a well done video, but yeah, I'm just not sold on the whole ghost thing yet. I wanna be though. And finally, we have the nursing home specter. A security guard named Jay Brown was working the night shift at a nursing home in Chicago when he spotted some sort of ghostly figure floating past the front desk. In this video, he's watching back at the security camera footage as he films, talking about what he saw. If you look closely at the footage, you actually see some sort of misty shape floating around in the corner. You watch as Brown stands up, confused and terrified as to what he's witnessing. At one point, he even throws a book at the ghostly mass, but then he decides to just take a deep breath, calm down, and get on with his shift. You know, stuff happens at work. Rude patients, long hours, sometimes there's a ghost in the corner, you gotta whip a book at and then just get on with your day. Brown stated that whatever the strange entity is, it seems to show up every few months. Pale, unnatural entities lurking in backyards, shapeshifters in empty garages, apparitions, unexplainable rituals, and more. These are 10-time security cameras caught something that made scientists question reality. This first clip was posted to YouTube by a user named Joey Nolan. Take a look. That is a really strange piece of footage. You can see some kind of see-through shape moving around at the top of the stairs. According to Joey, his home security camera picked this up on August 8th, 2019 at 12:54 in the morning. Whatever this thing is, its shape keeps shifting the entire time it's on screen. At first, it looks a bit like a small person stepping out from the dark kitchen area before stopping by the staircase. Then it shifts again, looking more like 2 glowing spots floating in the air. And take a look at this thing. Yeah, I really don't like that at all. Someone caught this absolute nightmare on their outdoor security camera. Something was crouching down in the bushes, peeking right at their house. It's a skinny, pale creature with glowing eyes. A lot of people online say it looks a lot like Slender Man or The Rake. Once it stands up and you see how tall it actually is, you definitely see why people say that. The blank face, the bald head, those shiny eyes, definitely giving off some heavy Slender Man, rakish vibes. If I checked my camera though and I saw that standing in my yard, I'd pack up my bags right then and there. This video was taken in South Africa back on April 11th, 2021, and that's pretty much all the context out there for it. If anyone watching from South Africa happens to know more about this video or what this person's doing, definitely drop a comment and let me know. All I can say is that even if this person isn't practicing actual witchcraft, I'd still be terrified if I was walking around at night and saw someone doing this in the dark. Are they just messing around for fun? Are they having a mental health crisis? Are they doing some kind of traditional ritual? Or did someone actually film a real witch on camera? Share your thoughts down in the comments. This creepy footage was caught on a home security camera down in Mexico, just a couple days before Halloween too. The homeowner had heard strange noises coming from his garage, so he went out to check on his dogs, but dogs weren't the ones making the noise. They were totally quiet. When he steps into the garage, we see this strange figure crouching down behind one of the cars. First, it's down on all fours like an animal, but then it slowly gets up on two legs. One of the dogs finally notices it, and you can see this figure stretching out almost like its arms and legs are growing longer. Just stands there, half hidden, and its body shape looks completely wrong, like it's shifting as you watch it. When the guy moves a little closer, the creature crouches back down, and he immediately backs out to go warn his wife. By the time they come back to look, the thing's gone. So what was that? Well, locals think there might be a specific name for it. Some people believe it could be a Nawal, a shapeshifter from old Mesoamerican stories that can take the form of different animals. In a wild story out of Canada, a nurse and outdoor lover named Corinia Stanhope captured some really bizarre footage on a trail camera near her home in Powell River. She found a dead deer in her garden and set up the camera to see what kind of animals might show up to eat it. She had no idea she was about to record something way stranger. Corinia and her 76-year-old grandfather Bob had already seen a bobcat in the footage, which was cool to see, but when Bob checked the camera again later, he got a total shock. Corinia said that when she came over the next day, her granddad told her that naked people were on the camera feed. She didn't believe him at first, so he pulled up the pictures to show her, and what they saw were two women eating the carcass. The woman showed up about 10 minutes after the sun went down, looking messy and wearing what looked like wigs. Corinia explained that you couldn't fully tell from the stills, but one of the women brought the deer's hoof straight into her mouth. She said she couldn't tell if the woman was kissing it, smelling it, or eating it, but thinking about someone touching a rotting, dead animal like that made her sick, given how much bacteria could be on it. This all happened just a 2-minute walk from her front door. This next video was shared on Reddit by a user named dirty_money. You might want to turn your volume down a bit for this first one because the beginning is pretty loud. In the video, a hanging lamp starts violently shaking back and forth, looking like it's about to fall, before it abruptly stops and settles right back into place. A few seconds later, there's a loud, deep thud. It sounds like it's coming from overhead. The Reddit user explained that he works from home, and on this day, no one else was in the house with him. He heard a huge bang out in the garage, so he went to check it out. When he walked in, he didn't see anything out of the ordinary, so he went back and checked his security camera, and this is what it recorded. Some people commenting on the post thought it might be a rodent, but it'd have to be a pretty massive animal to knock a light around like that. Others thought it could be a raccoon, but if a raccoon was up there, you'd expect to hear it scrambling away. Instead, everything goes totally quiet. On top of that, the homeowner didn't find anything when he went into the garage, and raccoons don't usually roam around during the daytime anyway. Plus, what was that heavy thud sound? That thud seems to be what brought the homeowner out to check the garage in the first place, not the lamp moving around.